Hey there, guys. Welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 162. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Today, we are talking about Daredevil Born Again, Lost Records, Bloomin' Rage Tape 2, Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders, GTA 6 delayed, The Last of Us Season 2 by HBO, and more. But first, we will begin with the finale and series review of Daredevil Born Again. We're a little late, but you know what? Better late than never to finally talk about the finale, the series, or the season overall, and then what's to come within season 2. So, yeah, full spoilers, by the way, in case you guys did not know. But yeah, I mean, episode 9 kind of brought everything back together. I think that starting off with sort of confirming that Vanessa Fisk did plot everything that led to the sort of start of the season, sort of confirming that, yes, she did hire Dex and she is a very evil person in terms of the way that she did it. And then the later half of the episode is just setting up for the next season to sort of get people prepared for what this new team is actually wants to do with Daredevil and not have to do with anything regarding the pre-overhaul stuff, right? You know, with the whole, with Muse, with the anti-vigilante task force sort of building up to that within the next season. So yeah, overall, very, very good finale. But yeah.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I thought the previous episode was just a bit better, but I still thought this was a really good finale and still... Like, it gives me a lot of faith for the future of this show. And, like, it shows that I think the show writers know what they're doing when it comes to, like, bringing this series forward. Because, you know, it's been a really rocky journey throughout this whole season. And, you know, I'm sure we're going to talk about more about that in a second. But I think they really proved themselves with these last 2 episodes. Like, you know, I wasn't, like, losing, like, hope. But there were parts where I'm like, okay, like, I'm ready to get to the post-overhaul, you know, episodes now, right? And I think they've really delivered. Especially episode 8, I thought was, like, brilliant. But I thought this was a great finale, too. Like, you know, there was just a lot to, like, sort of, like, end and, like, sort of, you know, bring in new plot points and, like, what we're going to do from here and stuff. And I think they kind of set the road up really well, and I'm really excited to see like where they go from here, right? And like kind of how they, you know, I guess take down Fisk or whatever, and like how that's gonna play out, right? So, and, you know, I don't know if we're gonna get more than 2 seasons or what, but I guess we'll figure out when we get further into the second season of Daredevil, since they're already filming it. So, you know, we're safe for it not getting canceled or anything.
Yeah, you know, right now we do have a second season that they're still building out, filming, whatever. But yeah, you know, obviously I think that episode 8 was, like you said, brilliant. The way I viewed these 2 episodes, like Infinity War and Endgame, you know, I think episode 9 is like Endgame. You know, you get all of the spectacle, the sort of things that fans have been wanting for years now, which is a Daredevil Punisher team up. You get to see all of those cool action pieces, and obviously Karen Page is back. You get to see her sort of support Matt throughout multiple scenes within this one episode. So yeah, you know, I just really enjoyed that part of the episode. You know, just seeing that action, the dialogue between, you know, them two is always funny and hilarious, and I love how much more laid back and a lot more sarcastic they can be within this new season. Because, you know, I feel like within the previous iteration of the show, within the Netflix show within season 2, you know, Matt and Frank's interactions were a lot more serious. You know, it was sort of tackling their ideologies in terms of what needs to be done to save their city, if you will. Obviously, this time around, same thing, but it's a lot more jokey. It's a lot more, you know, they're kind of like friends, or like a kind of like bickering couple, if you will.
Yeah, the whole fight scene in like Matt's apartment was really good. Like, the action was really good, and just like, you know, Matt tried not like stop him from killing more people. I've always really enjoyed that, because like, fucking stop, bro. So I thought that fight scene was really good. And you know, I feel like the fight scenes in general in this series have been like kind of hit or miss. Like, I feel like there was like some of the previous like pre-overhaul stuff, like I feel they were very like jump cutty and they were like cutting a lot and stuff. And I felt like this fight did a bit of that too, but it just felt better. Like, it just felt more like graphic, and like the punches like felt more real and stuff. And I think the use of lighting was a lot better. I mean, the Muse fight was just kind of like a disaster in what's her face is up. Yeah, episode 7, right? Because it's like in broad daylight and stuff, and just looked weird. You know, this fight looks a lot better, you know, in the shadows and stuff. I really enjoyed it. And again, Frank and Matt's dialogue is always so great, just because they're like, you know, they're both fighting for the same thing, but the way they do things is so different that they just can't help but fight each other, and I love it. So
yeah. I guess I'll talk about the sort of like the worst part of this episode was just revealing that Cole North is the one that killed Hector Ayala. So before I dive into it, I just want to hear Damian's thoughts on it because he didn't read the comics. He doesn't have any attachment to the previous iteration of Cole North from the comics. So Damian, what did you think when that whole reveal was sort of shown off?
Yeah, I just felt like all I know is what you told me about this character. So, you know, I was thinking they were going to do more with him. And, you know, my original thought, you know, obviously that's all out the window with this episode, was that, you know, like I thought BB and the commissioner were going to get this dude on their side to be like an inside man and sort of like show the corruption from the inside or whatever. And then like, sort of expose it for the public or whatever. Like that was like my headcanon in episode 8 or in episode 8, that's what I was thinking. But you know, with this episode, obviously things happen and you know, it's basically revealed that this dude is basically like he's the one that killed him, you know, White Tiger and stuff. And I'm just like, well, it just seems like he's not gonna be a very redeemable character, and I'm pretty sure he just dies when the whole apartment blows up anyway. So yeah, it just seemed like kind of like wasted potential. Like why was he even named this character that had importance in the comic if he wasn't going to really do anything? It felt really weird. Again, it felt maybe a pre-overhaul thing where they wanted him to be more of a character in the pre-overhaul show, but then they sort of backed away from it with the new stuff because they want to focus maybe more on like bringing back the Defenders back, or you know, having just Matt's crew back, so they didn't want to deal with like Cole or whatever. It just feels really weird. And you know, I'll talk about that more when we talk about the series in general, just because like there's so many like things that are kind of just like there but don't really go anywhere, because you know, I get the circumstances, but it just kind of leads to weird moments like this where it just feels like super wasted potential. And like, you know, I'm sure fans of his character are gonna feel like, you know, like this just did him so dirty. Same thing with Muse, right? Like I know a lot of people were not happy with how they handled Muse at all either, because he felt very throwaway. So it kind of feels the same way with this, you know. It just kind of feels like you just wasted a character for like no reason, right? So
yeah, you know, honestly, you know, I'm not going to blame the pre-overhaul people because I think they actually brought in Cole North when they were doing the overhaul stuff. I could be wrong. I have no idea. But you know, I think that this was just their way, you know, Dario and the rest of the writers and sort of that team to be like, all right, how are we going to wrap up this storyline? Because obviously Hector Ayala is going to die. Like that's just how his character is played out with the comics. How is he going to sort of bite the bullet? And, you know, they have a dirty cop do it, but they were like, all right, well, how do we tie it in together to make it sort of one complete story? And they were like, well, just have Cole North do it. Obviously, you know, when they first introduced him, it was very much a different version of the character. His intent was a lot more malicious and a lot more harmful compared to his comic counterpart, if you will. So, you know, for him to kill Hector Ayala, I was like, yo, no shot he did that. But, you know, he has the vest, he has the bullets. It's like, okay, yeah, it's kind of all pointing to him. And he doesn't necessarily confess to it, but he's like, I go down with my own. I was like, motherfucker, man, this is not the Cole North I know. But you know what? It is what it is. You know, I did read Chip Zdarsky. He put up like a Substack. He was like, let me go and see how my boy Cole North is doing, you know, because, you know, he created of it, and he was like, he got fucking blown up. He's like, shit, god damn it. But, you know, it is what it is. He did get the bag for sort of Marvel and Disney using his character within the show, so good on him for that. But yeah, it is just so crazy to see that they use this character that's so new too. Like, I feel like within comic book terms, like he's such a new character, you know, less than 10 years. That's still pretty new. And to bring him into live action like this and have fans be excited about him, see what he's going to do, and then do it like this is kind of just like, all right, like this is a completely different version of the character. And now that he's probably likely dead, it's like, okay, yeah, like that was just his character. And it sucks. Maybe he'll return for season 2, but I have no idea how you are going to be able to even redeem his character at this point, just because he killed a vigilante. He straight up did that. So, you know, it is what it is. I'm not going to harp on it too much because, you know, I feel like the other version of Cole North that we still have him obviously within the books. It's just that I wish that we were able to see that within live action.
Yeah, it's just like a weird thing. Born Again has been doing just with like a lot of these like newer Daredevil characters, like people that want to see like, you know, Kristen or Muse or Cole North, like they like bring them in, and then like I felt like they haven't really done much with them. So you know, hopefully I'm wrong. Like hopefully maybe Muse really isn't dead, and maybe they do more with him later. and maybe some of these characters get more fleshed out. Maybe Konor fucking survived the fucking explosion. I don't know. But as of right now, it does feel like kind of wasted potential for a lot of these like newer characters. But I'll talk more about that when we talk about in general. So
yeah, just the overall series. But you know, Karen's back. That was a a very good way to reintroduce her and sort of have that sort of first interaction with all three of them be within sort of Frank's basement, if you will. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. You know, obviously, I think the showrunners or sort of Dario and also the executive producer were sort of teasing about Castle, if you will, Karen and Frank, and sort of what that relationship might entail. So, you know, like I have no horse in this race kind of thing, you know, whether Karen decides to go for Matt or Frank or whoever, you know, they obviously all have like insane chemistry with each other. But I just love that scene was just them sort of like figuring out like, where are we, guys? You know, like, where are we within like our relationships? Because obviously they've all been through a lot. They all have their own histories with each other. You know, this was like the first time that Matt was like finding out that like Karen was talking to Frank after the sort of trial that they went through within season 2. So, you know, I think that was just such a fun and fantastic scene to have just between all three of them.
Yeah, dude, I love Karen. Like, I'm so happy that she's like here to stay. Hopefully, like, don't leave again. So, and I'm happy they touched on all, like, you know, they had those quiet moments, just like reconnect and like, you know, seeing like where they're gonna go. You know, I've always really like, you know, Karen's relationship with Frank. Like, I thought that was a really high point in season 2. You know, I thought all the Punisher stuff in season 2 was like super high, like one of my favorite things of season 2, and Karen's relationship with Frank being like super complicated and stuff. Like, I thought that was like always fun to see. So I'm happy to see them back together maybe and like do some stuff. Obviously, like Frank is gonna be doing some stuff in the next, like, I guess, like series or whatever. Like, yeah. But like it was cool to see them all together again. And you know, I think Karen's such a strong character that, you know, her presence was very much missed in this whole show. You know, like compared to someone like Cherry, like she, you know, he did not have the same amount of like charisma that like Karen does. Like she just like carries so many scenes. She's so good. So I'm happy to see her back. Hopefully she doesn't leave again. Hopefully we get some like strong moments with her in season 2 or Born Again. But yeah, I'm very happy that they finally brought her back into the Born Again like sort of canon, I guess.
Goddamn, after shaving a haircut, huh, Frank?
Yeah,
God damn it. But you know, his other action sequence with the sort of fanboys, you know, obviously Damian hasn't watched the sort of solo Punisher series, but I can say like without a doubt, like within this one episode, it's sort of everything that Frank does. It's like, I feel like it's a lot more violent than like what was done previously. Cause you know, obviously like the sort of Netflix series era of Marvel there was very violent, but I feel like here they were kind of just like, fuck it, whatever, like just do what you want. Like Kevin Feige and like the rest of Marvel didn't have any issues with how violent and sort of how grotesque they wanted to go, obviously with the whole Gallo death scene we'll talk about in a bit. But you know, just seeing Frank, you know, just fucking shoot those cops, there's so much fun. And also sort of his speech about them like not knowing like anything, like they're like, we admire your work. You're bunch of fucking idiots. You know, I just love that. Also, the fact that their skulls just look so fucking bad. Like none of them look like how sort of Frank wears it or even Cole North wore it. You know, they just look so fucking terrible and so stupid just standing there being like, we admire your work and shit like that. So, you know, I just love that speech, and I'm glad that, you know, John Berthel was able to deliver on that scene.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good scene too, though I don't know what his plan was, just to like walk it up in there and just fucking like kill all of them, but it was still like a really sick scene, like you said. The violence like is like definitely does seem a lot more intense than the Netflix show ever was. You know, like there's like fucking blood gushing everywhere, and obviously we're gonna talk about a certain scene in a second here, but like yeah, I think but I think it fits. Like I don't think it's like overkill for the most part. I mean, maybe the other one, but for the most part, I think it like fits the show pretty well, and I'm happy to kind of let them have free reign to do like whatever they want, and like you don't really feel like Disney has like a strong hold over this series. Like they're just like, yeah, kind of do like what you think is right. Obviously like the overhaul stuff or whatever, but like in terms of like actual content in this newer stuff and whatever the next season's going to be, it feels like Disney is really allowing them to go hog wild with it. And, you know, this whole scene with Punisher versus like, you know, little junior Punishers was like a ton of fun. So again, his speech was just like, y'all a bunch of clowns, you know, like just not getting like the message at all of like why he's doing what he does. Right. So, you know, I always love that. Like, you know, that's, you know, it speaks to like, you know, real life too and stuff. So yeah, it's good. It's good. I liked it.
But Sheila, you know, when it comes to Fisk and his story, which I guess I'm diving a little bit ahead of myself, but you know, just like overall within Daredevil Born Again, I feel like Fisk's story is just not as strong compared to Matt's, and I think it has to do with a lot of his side characters, even though Matt's side characters are not that strong either.
No.
But I think Sheila, you know, I've talked about her before, but I feel like, especially within this finale where she rats out Gallo, you know, like Gallo really went to her and was like, I feel like you're the only one left in this building that's like sensible and like actually like understands what's going on. And he goes to her and, you know, she was recording the whole conversation and fucking ratted out to him. And, you know, at this point, Fisk is like, I've had enough. We're doing this shit the old-fashioned way. So yeah, he just lures Gallo back to whatever fucking corner, and he has all of his other people there, and he just crushes his head. And like that was such an insane thing. You know, obviously the fucking car door scene is like iconic within the original Netflix series, but I feel like that this was on another level, just him doing it with his bare hands and the amount of blood and everything like that. You know, shout out to the sort of props team and everything like that for even getting that shit to work. I think D'Onofrio was also very adamant in terms of like how he wanted it to go. So yeah, you know, I just love that. And, you know, hopefully, like I said, the other side characters, you know, Daniel and Buck get a little bit more to do next season. Cause like I said, I feel like Sheila was kind of just like dog walking them in terms of like how useful she was compared to the other two.
Yeah, I mean, I you know, I still like argue that I think Kingpin's side characters were a lot better than Matt's. I mean, I don't even think that's a competition. You know, Matt's side characters this season have been like pretty fucking whatever. But I think, you know, and compared to other Kingpin crews, like from season 1 or from obviously season 3 as well, like, yeah, they're not as great as those two seasons either. You know, they ain't no Wesley and they ain't no like Dex or whatever, like from like season 3 or whatever. But they're all right. Like, I could see them developing, like making them like into better characters and seeing where they go from there. And, you know, I think Sheila sort of like seeing like there was no other way to really like save herself besides like, you know, going against her moral like her like moral compass or whatever. I thought that was really good, and I hope they explore more of that in the future, and maybe she could help bring down Fisk from the inside, you know, as well. I think that's good. Like I do like that. And then obviously like the gallows scene, you know, like goddamn, bro. Like I mean, I think that's one of the most graphic scenes in any MCU thing ever, because, you know, with the car door scene, that's more like implied, like, you know, you don't like see it, right?
Yeah.
Like you hear it or whatever, but like this one, like, holy shit, bro, you went like fucking Omni-Man on that guy. Like, my lord. So yeah, I mean, I thought it really showed like the brutality of Kingpin and like how, well, I guess that he's back being Kingpin. Like, you know, he's not gonna play, you know, by the rules anymore. He's gonna like, you know, kind of rule the state or the city with like, you know, an iron fist or whatever. So like I think that's it's just going back to like he could go back into power and stuff, like sort of like what he wants to do in season 3 or whatever, like him going like full crazy, taking over the FBI. And this one is he has the whole fucking city now, right? And like a whole police force. Yeah. So I think it's really cool how they like kind of brought him back into being Kingpin throughout this whole season. So yeah.
And then, you know, after this part, I will argue that I think the rest of the episode is kind of just them setting up for like what's going to happen next. So obviously the first thing is like Matt, he goes to sort of, what's it called? God damn it. The freaking port. I forget the name of it.
Oh, Red Hook? Is it Red Hook?
Yes, Red Hook. He goes to Red Hook and Karen's there, and I was like, "What the fuck is Karen here?" Yeah. And he's like, "I'm gonna go in," and Karen's like, "You're fucking not doing that, by the way." And then he's like, "We need an army." I was like, "All right, here we go. Here we fucking go." And apparently, the fucking Spider-Man MCU theme is like subtly put in there by the fucking Newton brothers, and they low-key confirmed it. Yeah. And I was like, "Wait, I didn't fucking hear that." But then I've rewatched it a couple times. I was like, I could kind of see it. So, you know, obviously, I think the Defenders are kind of like almost kind of confirmed for season 2. Yeah. I feel like that they're slowly gonna build up that team there, but I don't know how they're even gonna bring Spider-Man into this show, because I know Marvel / Disney cannot put him in the show physically. Obviously, they could hint at him, they could, you know, sort of make mentions of him, but I wonder how that's gonna play into like a Spider-Man movie or whatever, because I think that that's like the most feasible way to do it. We'll wait and see exactly what that'll entail, whether it's Spider-Man 5, maybe even Spider-Man 4. I doubt Spider-Man 4, to be honest, because I think they want to have Peter Parker do like a solo thing that'll lead into Doomsday, and then maybe after all of that stuff, they could lean back into this storyline with the whole anti-vigilante movement within New York City. So, you know, I'm just glad that, there was something teased there. I'm still holding my breath in terms of like getting super duper excited about what's going to happen within the live action version of Daredevil and Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's like the weird things where like I don't think Disney could use like live action Spider-Man stuff for like TV shows or something, and like they can't use Kingpin for movies or whatever. So like it kind of leaves them in a really tough spot or whatever. I don't know how true that is, but like I guess we'll see. I mean, them teasing any Spider-Man for this Daredevil stuff is like pretty hopeful, because like I feel like they wouldn't do that if they didn't have something planned. Now, I don't expect Spider-Man to be swinging up like next season or whatever. It would be awesome, but like I don't think that's gonna happen. But it would be nice to have at least like some like cameo of him. Maybe like just see some web or something. You could like web up some guy, and Daredevil's like, yeah, that's my guy, and then that's it, right? Like I don't know. But it would be nice. I feel like it would like disservice the story if he just wasn't there, because I feel like this is like a big thing happening in New York City.
There's been a lot of big things happening in New York, and everyone's like, "Where's Spider-Man?"
Yeah, he's in fraud alert. So,
fraud watch.
Fraud watch. Like, where is he? So, it just kind of like suspend your disbelief to be like, where the fuck is Spider-Man at this point, right? So if they do have a plan for him, that's great, but I guess we'll see. Because, when Matt was doing his whole speech in Jonesy's bar, and then you just see like the absolute clown show in that bar. Like the only one in there worth anything is Karen, and I'm like, damn, bro, like we're washed. like it's joking, bro.
This fucking squad we got here, we're so cooked, brother. But, the speech before then, when Karen's just talking to Matt, trying to, bring him down and make him realize that, yes, the city does need Daredevil, and sort of his role within playing the mask and doing everything like that, like he should do it, like she is that voice of reason that he needs within his life. And, it'll probably lead to some sort of romantic tension within season 2 or whatever. But
I also forgot that Heather was just like, fuck you, Matt. And she's like, with Kingpin now or whatever.
Okay. I guess we could talk about Heather a bit, because I didn't put it in the notes here, but when fucking Matt wakes up and calls her Karen was probably the funniest bit of this episode. That shit was so funny, because I was like, oh, we all know Karen's coming back later, but waking up and be like, Karen, I'm like, ah, shit, Matt, you're in fucking trouble. So Heather, I think we talked about it last episode, where I still feel like that she is like a smart character. And even after this episode, where like she obviously joins Fisk's side, she obviously has like a bias towards anti-vigilante stuff, and she's very much for it. Obviously with her encounter with Muse, and her viewing Muse and Daredevil as like the same way, and her toxic relationship, if you will, with Matt Murdock, that obviously did not end well. I don't mind the way her character is being portrayed. I think a lot of people hating on her is just like a little bit out of proportion. I'm sure that she'll have a bigger role within season 2. Maybe she'll find out that Matt is Daredevil, and maybe that'll change her mind one way or the other. I'm not exactly sure which extreme she'll go on. Maybe she'll pull back a little bit. Maybe she'll go even deeper. Who knows? But obviously now she is under Fisk's wing, and we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I think that Heather, sort of being now Matt's other ex, if you will, I think that is totally fine. Completely fits her character. I've no idea how her comic counterpart is, but I know that it's not the same as the show, which I'm glad, because I think that they are doing a lot of things differently, and I think that this is the one change that I am excited to see moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the few side characters like in Matt's circle that I feel like is like having any type of like character like stuff happening, I guess. Like, like Cherry still doesn't like do shit. Like he's just there. And I think what's her face? I always forget her name. Kristen. I think she's like I think she has some good stuff going on now. Like at least she's like questioning like what the fuck is happening. At least like she's like so I'm sure they could do more stuff with her. But like I feel like Heather, if you love her or hate her, I feel like at least she has like some interesting stuff narratively happening to her. So I'm excited to see how that goes down, and see like how Kingpin is gonna like use her maybe to get closer to Matt or whatever. Like I think that's gonna be some interesting stuff there. So yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess just overall with the whole season, I have not rewatched it front to back, but just thinking about it, episode to episode kind of thing, you could definitely see why certain episodes premiered together, because episode 1 and 2, episode 1 is the sort of brand new pilot that they shot, and then episode 2 is like the pre-overhaul start. Because like, if you go from episode 1 to 2, like week to week, you're going to be expecting like different things. Episode 1 is like, oh my god, it's so good. It's shot so well, and then episode 2 is sort of shot and done like a standard like Disney Plus show. So obviously they put those 2 episodes together. 5 and 6 went together because obviously 5 is like the sort of like haha funny comic booky one shot sort of episode that doesn't connect to anything. And then episode 6 starts with the whole Muse thing, and like you said earlier, Damien, with certain characters not getting enough screen time and sort of how they're developed and everything like that. This show is still like a far cry from what we got previously with the whole Netflix series where they had 13 episodes and they were able to work those 13 episodes to the fullest, give us so much character background, dialogue, give us, everything that we would want from a television series and really flesh these characters out and give them enough time to shine. When I feel like this show, it's only 9 episodes long, not even hour-long episodes. There's a lot of stuff that they probably could have added in here to make things more interesting, especially with Muse. I feel like, Muse as a character was such a missed opportunity, and maybe he'll be in season 2, but who knows? But I'm very much excited to see where season 2 goes, because like I said, they are not sort of beholden to the pre-existing footage, and they could do everything from scratch and with a single vision and a single team. So, Born Again is definitely not better than any of the sort of Netflix seasons, not even season 2, not even Defenders, I would say, because I think that just visually and sort of tonally, it is all consistent there, where I feel like this season is like all over the fucking place because they Frankenstein and stitched everything together. But still, it is a fun ride. It's great to see Daredevil back within the sort of MCU continuity and sort of have this new season to actually watch and enjoy, especially as someone like me who's been waiting years for anything new Daredevil related. Just to see this entire cast brought back together is great.
Yeah, I mean, you basically said everything I wanted to say. I was going to say, like, I probably would rank this the lowest of all the, like, the Netflix stuff. Well, Daredevil related anyway. Like, I didn't watch the other Defender stuff or whatever besides the Defenders. But, I think it's just because it just feels so stitched together. And I feel like by the time it was really getting good, it was over already. Because, the post-overhaul stuff was finally over for the last 2 episodes. I'm just like, well, I wish that was just the whole season, right? It kind of just leads to just such an uneven project, but I always had hope that they would bring it back at the end, and they did, I think. They really reeled it back. They really started to have a vision on what the series was going to be. Obviously, I wish, like, in my perfect world, they would just scrapped everything and then just made it from the ground up again. Like, that's like what I think they really should have done, but obviously they couldn't. They spent a lot of money on the pre-overhaul stuff for Ravi, on that old footage. Like, they weren't just going to scrap it or whatever. But I feel like it hurted the project more than helped it, in my opinion. That I think, like, it just kind of just hurts the whole season in general. Because I feel like there's only like a few episodes you really have to watch in this this season. Like, some episodes could feel like completely skipped. Like, honestly, most of the Muse stuff doesn't even feel like that important at all. Same thing with the one shot episode. Even though it was fun and I liked it, like, it was not like necessary viewing or anything, and it just leads to like the whole thing feeling so disjointed. And I feel like that's nothing. Like, none of the Netflix seasons had that issue. Like, even season 2 was a bit messier. It still had a thing it wanted to tell. Like, it had the Frank stuff and it had the hand stuff, like with Elektra. Like obviously that stuff was handled a little weird or whatever, but it still had like a main plot, right? Like, I feel like this one was just kind of going through stuff, and like by the end we finally got to the point where it's like, okay, now everything is starting to make sense, right? And obviously a lot of shows do that, but like this does it in like a really messy way where it's just like, yeah, obviously none of this was like planned and like we had to like make it work, right? But, there's still a lot of things I really liked about the show. Like, obviously the acting is still great. Obviously from Charlie Cox, he's always great. King Fing, Vincent D'Onofrio, he did, always does an amazing job. All the guest stars that come back for a little bit, like Karen. Obviously we're going to see more of them, hopefully. All the acting, great. By the end, I thought the action was really good, and like it really feels like it's back to the Netflix style, and I have like full confidence that they're going to like film some amazing fight scenes and stuff. But I just wish it was more consistent throughout the whole thing, right? But I think just having Daredevil back in general with all the people, all the cast members, or most of the people that made the original Netflix stuff, like that's neat to see. So hopefully the next season is a lot better, and I think it is. And that's the only thing I can hope for, because I thought this season was good, but and I understand why it was like this, but I'm really ready to like get with it. Man. Like, I'm ready to see it in full force. I'm ready to see my boy do some cool stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, and all that stuff's going to premiere next year alongside the Punisher special, which goes into the sort of post-credit scene. You know, once again, Frank playing that one fanboy. He's like, hey, man, you know, thank you for your service and all this shit. Let me shake your hand. He's like, hey, you know what? Let's just shake my hand. Obviously, he just fucks him up. So cannot wait to see where that stuff leads. But yeah, we'll just get into the next part of the show. We will talk about our recent activities. I will let Damian go first because I got fucking smorgasbord of comic books and movies that I have no idea how long I'm going to gush about, but I will let Damian take the floor with his gaming related stuff.
Yeah, I don't have a lot because I was on vacation, so I didn't like do a ton besides like finish a lot of stuff for the podcast. But I finished Xenoblade X because I really needed to get that game done. So after like 108 hours it took me, like a month or whatever, because that's usually how long Xenoblade games take. I beat X again, and you know, this time, you know, back then 10 years ago, I didn't do like most of the side content. You know, I kind of just did, you know, I explored a bit. I did some side quests, but I didn't really like, you know, I'm not like the person I am now in terms of RPGs. Like that was one of my, like maybe the third big JRPG I played during that time because I was starting to really get into them during that time. And I really liked X, but I did thought Xenoblade 1 was a lot better in terms of just like story and characters, and I think X wasn't really providing that. Now that, you know, we've had Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3, and, you know, 1 got a remake as well, and then all the other content that came out with this series during this time, I feel like a remaster of X felt appropriate. It was kind of like, I brought this up before, but it's kind of like when Mario 3D World came out, and a lot of people didn't really appreciate that game because it wasn't like the next big 3D Mario game. It's like, oh, what is this like weird, like 3D, 2D Mario, like what the fuck is this, right? Like I want Galaxy 3, like I want the next big 3D Mario game, right? But I think now, ever since we got Mario Odyssey and, you know, 3D World got, you know, remastered with Bowser's Fury or whatever, people really appreciate that game more now for what it was trying to do now that we got Odyssey, right? And I kind of feel the same exact way about Xenoblade X. You know, I got Xenoblade 2 and 3, which was in the same style of Xenoblade 1. So I feel like I got my full of that, you know, how that series has went. So going back to X really does feel like a breath of fresh air because it does so many things so differently. You know, the main story is kind of on the back burner while the side content and exploration is in like full effect. And I think it does it the best out of any Xenoblade game. Like I think the exploration is a ton of fun. Just being able to like run around, you know, you have a sprint. Your movement options are just a lot more expanded compared to the other Xenoblade games. Obviously you have scales, so you're able to like fly around and, you know, play with your big mech or whatever. You know, it just makes the exploration super fun. All the side content feels really meaningful. There's like side stories that start from the beginning of the game and don't end till like the last chapter of the game. So sticking with these side quest chains throughout the whole game feels really rewarding. Doing all the affinity quests, which are basically like bigger voiced side quests or whatever for your companions. I think all those were a ton of fun. Obviously this remaster made all this very like a lot easier since the original game had like, it felt very obtuse for like no reason. This remaster made things a lot more easier to like, you know, track quests. The game is just less grindy in general. The game just explains more things for you. The UI is a lot cleaner. This remaster is probably the best Monolith has done. Like I think they did the same thing for Xenoblade 1, but I feel like that game needed less of that because the game was already basically a 10 out of 10. It just had to like fix some stuff and, you know, fix the visuals or whatever. I think X needed a lot more love, and I think they really delivered on that. And then, you know, in terms of like the actual new content with the new epilogue, which was about like, I think it was about like 8 hours or whatever. I thought it was good. I think story wise, it felt kind of like there was like a big cliffhanger in the end of the original Xenoblade X that people were kind of left on for like 10 years or whatever. And I felt like they didn't really deliver on answering any of those questions. Like they answered them, but I felt like they were very like hand wavy of that original continuity. It basically seems like we're not going to get an X2. And I guess this is kind of spoilers for like Xenoblade in general, so like cover your ears if you care. But you know, at the end of Xenoblade 2, it's revealed that all the games are connected to each other in like weird vague ways or whatever. And this epilogue is basically making it so X is like canon in the same universe now because it originally wasn't. So it seems like they want to tell that story and less of like X's original plot or whatever the fuck. Like you crash down on some planet and like, oh, the planet might be mysterious and magical or whatever. But by the end of this epilogue, like that planet, this is all spoilers. This planet just gets fucking destroyed. And I feel like it kind of like devalues a lot of what X was trying to do, where it's like you crash land on this planet, you're like humanity's last like group of humanity or whatever, and you're building up this community, doing all these side quests, like building like this huge community of both humans and other alien races, and it's great, right? But then by the end of the game, it just feels like all that gets destroyed. Is like, okay, we gotta like connect X to like the rest of the Xenoblade universe now, so let's just do it, right? So I feel like in terms of like me caring about the Xenoblade universe, I think that's cool, but I think in terms of like if you just cared about X's story, it's kind of not great, but I still enjoyed it. I think there was like great boss fights and like the music was good, and like the new area you get to explore was also pretty neat. So overall, I thought this was a great remaster of X. Definitely play this if you're interested at all in X. Now that all the Xenoblade games are out on Switch, play the fucking series. It's awesome. I recommend going through it in numbered order. So 1, 2, 3, and then probably X. I mean, you could play X first if you want, but I definitely recommend just playing 1, 2, 3, then X. I think it would make more sense that way. Plus all the DLCs and expansions and all that bullshit. There's a lot in this universe now, and I'm happy I really got to fully experience X now, as opposed to back then where I kind of just played it and like finished it, and I'm like, yeah, it was good. But now I fully appreciate what X was trying to do. So yeah, another great game. I'm very excited to see what the next Xenoblade game is for the Switch 2. Now that I'm not stuck on crusty hardware, I am very excited. But yeah, and of course, there's been so many RPGs. Like I've been like, there's just so many. So Expedition 33. So this was like the big one that I was really excited for when I first saw it in the Xbox showcase or whatever. Not the last one, but like Game Awards. I think they showed it. I don't know. They showed it like a year ago. I'm like, this game looks awesome. It's like a French JRPG. Like sure, like that looks amazing. And I was always hoping this game would do well review wise and maybe sell pretty okay. Like I was kind of hoping for that. This game blew the fuck up. It got like 9s and 10s. It's selling like crazy. It sold out all physical copies, and I am so happy. Like this game is like a 50, 60 hour JRPG. It's only $50, so it's like $20 below what a normal AAA game would be. And it's fucking good. I've only played like 2 or 3 hours just to get an idea for the podcast. Like obviously I'm gonna play a lot more next time. But me playing it or Ravi, like the game is just oozing with like so much like personality and potential and love for the genre it's in. There's so much heavy influence from like Final Fantasy, Persona, definitely like the menus just look like from Persona. But also having its own original like setting and stuff, being like this post-apocalyptic France or whatever. The premise of being like this like mysterious like big lady paints a number and anyone of that age just fucking evaporates. I'm like, that's sick as hell. I want to know what's going on with that. So like the premise is really neat. The world is super unique. And, it does some innovations for the JRPG franchise or the JRPG genre in general. Obviously having like an older cast of characters, because I know some people don't like that JRPGs are mostly a bunch of teenagers. The game has a more realistic art style, so people that don't like the more anime aesthetic could maybe get into this game. And the combat mechanics are a lot more action-based. So obviously it's still a turn-based RPG, but it plays kind of like Mario and Luigi, where everything has an action command. So, you press like an ability and then you do like, you do a QTE basically. I don't think it's as like intricate as like Mario and Luigi, where like you have to like kind of look at the brothers and like do all that bullshit or whatever, but it's still like, you got to interact with the game. And I think it really shines when you have to defend, since you could either dodge with circle or parry with right trigger, and parrying is a lot harder to do, but if you do it, you get rewarded with more damage because you could counterattack them, and you get more AP, so you could like do more special moves or whatever as the fight goes on. Obviously there's a lot more systems in play and that I need to like get more into the game to like experience, but it seems there's like a lot of depth here in the combat system with a really intriguing story, great music. Like the music is fucking fantastic. Very like near, very like it's just very near. Honestly, that's like the one thing that's come into my mind. It's just great. Like just from the story hooks alone and the few combat encounters I've done already, it's great. Mostly because you could kind of just fight like any monster you want because there's like some really high level monsters in like the starting area. And I'm like, I could do that because technically you could do any fight without taking damage if you're good enough, right? So I was fighting this high level enemy and I died like for like 20 minutes, but I did it because I was able to learn the counters and parries and shit. And I think that's really neat to have in a turn-based RPG, right? So it really combines that skillful stuff from like a more action-oriented, like maybe like a Dark Souls or whatever, with the more tactical nature of a normal turn-based JRPG. So I'm loving it so far. I can't wait to get more into it so I could talk more about it. And I'm happy the game is doing super well. Probably going to be a Game of the Year contender for sure. So yeah, definitely excited to play more of it.
Okay, so because Damian gave me an extra week, I decided to read a fuck ton of comics. I have been consuming a lot on the DC app. So I filled up my thing for the Batman Chip Zdarsky run. I think I talked about it a few podcasts ago. So I finished it on a alleged link because the base version does not allow me to finish it like that. And I could definitely see why a lot of people don't like this run on Batman. As someone who doesn't read a lot of Batman, I mean, I liked it. I think that it was fine. There's definitely elements that I don't like about it. For one thing, the crossover event with Catwoman or whatever, because, you know, when a comic goes on long enough, especially if it is a ongoing, there's always like a crossover event, which me personally, I have never liked it because it's always like intrusive because you have to like buy other issues from other series to like get like the full story. And it's just annoying. So I'm just like, I don't like crossover events like whatsoever. Even if they're like good, I just don't like it when I'm buying single issues because I have to go out of my way and get those other ones, etc., because it's happening right now with the next book that I will talk about next. But yeah, Chip Zdarsky's run on Batman, I think it's fine. I think that there is definitely problems with it. There's a decision that Batman does with a certain character during the crossover event that I'm just like, why the fuck did he do that? I have no idea. But yeah, I mean, I think Zdarsky definitely wanted to take it in a different direction, but it just felt not that great or not that sort of as bombastic as he thought it was. Because obviously everyone knows that Zdarsky's a very good writer. Like if you just read his fucking Daredevil run, it's like 10 out of 10 peak shit. Like it is so fucking good. So from going from Daredevil to Bruce Wayne, you know, or sort of Batman, if you will, you know, it's sort of like two sides of the same coin. And it seems like that he couldn't really execute that here. There's obviously still moments of like really good writing and really good things going on, but I feel like towards the end of the run, because he knew that he was done with the book, he was like, let me just like wrap this shit up. So it is what it is. There's obviously better Batman books, better Batman runs out there. But you know, if you're someone like me that wants to get into sort of Batman comic books, obviously, if you want to know what's good, you're gonna have to read the bad stuff. So you know, I decided to go to my comfort and read something by Chip Zdarsky, and you know what? Not that bad, in my opinion. The next thing I decided to read is Batman Superman World's Finest on the DC app. So this is a ongoing right now. It is a current book, and it's pretty much about Batman and Superman during like the sort of Silver Age of comic books, like way back in the day, just going on adventures, you know, just going on random ass adventures, but they're very, very good. Like they're very entertaining. The stories do kind of connect. There's certain issues that you'll go back and see like the first time that like Batman and Superman like teamed up together, like the first time they sort of interacted. And then there's another issue or sort of arc where it's Batman and Superman meets Wonder Woman. You know, like there's obviously the Justice League in this universe, so they interact a lot within this book. And it's just a lot of fun. You know, I think Mark Waid does a fantastic job writing for these characters. Dan Mora, he is such a fantastic artist. I think he's a little overworked at sort of DC. Like he does fucking everything. But he's just so freaking good. So I cannot wait to read more. I decided to not go on my Alleged Link app and I actually bought the books online. I'm just waiting for them to come in the mail and I'm now pulling it from my local comic book store. So because I had no more issues to read Batman, Superman, World's Finest, I was like, what am I going to read next? And I decided to read Nightwing by Tom Taylor. I've heard a lot of great things about this run. I mean, I just like Nightwing because I like fucking blue, and I think that Nightwing just looks cool as a character. Like, I mean, he is the first Robin, in case you did not know. It is Dick Grayson. He takes on this new sort of persona as Nightwing, and I decided to read from the start of Tom Taylor's run. So this is like the beauty about comic books compared to like manga or sort of that sort of, you know, genre of like comics, if you will.
Right.
You know, when you got to read something like One Piece, you got to start from fucking issue 1.
Right,
when you want to read something for like a specific character with like a certain creative team, you could start where that team starts. You don't have to read everything else before then. So like, for example, with Nightwing by Tom Taylor, I decided to start from where it starts, 78, and I currently got up to issue 108. So you know, I'm currently in the middle of a certain arc. This is a lot of fun. I think people describe Nightwing as like kind of Spider-Man-esque, kind of, because like he's just a guy who wants to do. He just wants to do the right thing and help people. And I think Tom Taylor does a great job explaining also Nightwing's backstory and sort of his role within like the Bat family and all of that stuff. Because obviously like Batman is in the book, but he's not like there every issue. I would say he's in there like maybe like out of like, what is it, 78 to 108? I think that's like 30 issues. I think he's in there like maybe like 4 or 5 times. So, you know, like he's there, but he's not like there kind of thing. Right. The book is also very funny. There's a lot of great sort of lines and sort of panels that are just like amusing and sort of hilarious. And I just love it when like a comic book is able to really get the humor right. And I think Tom Taylor does that perfectly with Nightwing. So yeah, you know, like if you want to read, I guess something that is a little bit more grounded. Obviously, I think a lot of the sort of DC Batman books are grounded. This is definitely one that's like the most grounded, if you will. Because like I said, you know, people describe Nightwing something similar to Spider-Man. Next book I read was like a one-shot special that they released on the DC app and also just in print in general. Summer of Superman special. It has several creative teams on here. Mark Waid's on here, Dan Slott, George Jimenez. But yeah, this is just a one-shot special of just like Superman remembering his summers from like the past, present, and future kind of thing. So obviously those creative teams have a specific era that they will write about within this sort of version of Superman. It's pretty fun. I think that even as someone like Damian who's only watched the sort of Superman cartoon show, you could definitely read this and like get like a really great story out of it. You know, I think that like one shots like these are like great intros for comic book readers because like I said, it's a one shot. There's like no commitment to it whatsoever. You don't have to read like a second issue. It's all within this one book. So yeah, very, very good. If you have the DC app or if it's still available at your local comic book store and you see it there, definitely go and pick that up. Now for the books that I've read physically, because I definitely need to fucking go through my physical backlog. So obviously Sonic. I love Sonic the Hedgehog, and I think the Sonic books. I can tell, yeah. The Sonic books by IDW are great. So the past few years, they've done like one-shot specials of like the 30th anniversary for certain characters. So they recently did the 30th anniversary one-shot of Knuckles. This one's pretty good. They even tie it into Sonic Superstars with like... the goddamn new character. I forget her name.
Oh fuck. What was her name? Oh,
I don't even know.
Shit.
Anyways, they tie it into her and sort of that story as well. So it's kind of interesting and it's also just a lot of fun. Obviously the Sonic comics.
Right? Wasn't her name fucking Trip or some shit?
Trip. Yes. You're correct. So yeah, you know, obviously Sonic comics are made for Sonic fans. So if you are a Sonic fan, I definitely recommend reading these. Don't get the single issues. I definitely recommend What the Heck Does IDW Have It? Whoops, I'm like fucking making a mess on my desk. I think it's called the IDW collections or whatever. Those are like the hard trade paperbacks or whatever. Yeah, get those, the sort of hard covers, because it just has every single issue in order. And it also has like the spin-offs and everything like that. So you can just read those like straight through. You don't have to worry about like Googling like Sonic IDW reading order and then like trying to figure out like which trades to get, all of this other stuff. So yeah, and then the ongoing. It's been a while since I've actually like been trying to like keep up with it because I think there was a certain period, I forget where, but I think it was at the start of this year where it was like they released one issue and then it was like more than 6 months of like delay or whatever. So I was just like, all right, I'm like kind of, you know, like not following it anyway. So I was just like trying to wait for it to like get back on schedule and it looks like it is. Yeah, I think the Sonic IDW ongoing, there's a lot of new characters that they introduced.
Yeah, I know it's like Surge or whatever, but like...
Yeah, Surge and Kit, it's sort of like another sort of version of like Sonic and Tails. But this time it's like a different like experiment that they went through. They even had like a little mini sort of spin-off series to sort of introduce them. But yeah, you know, it's fun, good stuff. You know, you're not going to get insane writing out of these books because they're made for kids. But, you know, as like a Sonic fan, and I think if you like the Sonic universe, you'll definitely get a kick out of the Sonic comics.
The art's really nice.
The art is always fantastic. The goddamn Sonic comic book artists are always passionate about these characters, so they always deliver on great sort of cover art, interior art, all that stuff. So, yeah, you know, and then let's talk about some movies. So, if you have been following the sort of film movie universe sort of space, if you will, Sinners has been taking over everything. I mean, Sinners, recently they announced, I think it was yesterday, that it was going to come back to IMAX 77 millimeter, which is like the intended way that like Ryan Coogler, the director, was like, yes, it's like the best way to fucking watch it. They're going to re-release it sort of midway through May. It all fucking sold out. It crashed the AMC app and everything. I was trying to get tickets, but like shit crashed. But I got tickets for like regular 77 mil. So that's just, you know, just so I could see more of the screen or whatever. I'm not exactly sure what the formatting is. But, you know, he did like a whole like 10-minute video, and that sort of went viral of him just like being a nerd and just like explaining the formats. Anyways, Sinners, the movie. This is categorized as a horror movie. There's definitely horror elements, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's 100% horror. It's just a really good fucking movie. Like, there's just so much to like here. The world, the characters, the acting, the way it's shot, obviously. I think I have not seen a movie in a while that has really made me really fall in love with film like this. And I saw it twice, because the first time we saw it, I think it was in Dolby or Standard, I forget. Because when you see it in IMAX, they play with the fucking aspect ratio. And I fucking love that. I'm a sucker for that within Daredevil, and I'm a sucker for it when I was watching Sinners. When it would slowly change the aspect ratio to show more of the sort of frame, I was like, oh my God, I fucking love this. And it's obviously only during like the sort of like peak moments of the film. So, you know, I'm excited to see how that looks within 77 mil. Maybe even one day I'll see it in fucking IMAX 77 mil. But yeah, if you have not seen Sinners and you love going to the movies, go and fucking watch this movie. You will not be disappointed. I've seen it twice. I think it's even better the second time around, because now you know everything that it's going for. I think the first time you watch it, you'll definitely be like, all right, like what's going on? Because obviously they have to build up this world, and they do such a great job about it. Like they show it within the actions of the characters instead of telling you, right? Like I love that. Like they aren't just telling you like, why is sort of Smoke and Stack, who is like the main characters that Michael B. Jordan plays as both of them, you know, why are they such like a threat or sort of a opposing force within sort of this town? But like it just shows within their actions, if you will. So yeah, if you haven't seen Sinners, please go and fucking watch it. It's really, really good. And then I went to go see Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, because they did like the 20th anniversary re-release. That did really, really well. It had like 20 mil at like the box office. I was like, what the fuck is going on? But this was such a tame like rewatch experience. Like there was like no cheering, no clapping until the younglings appeared, bro. The younglings appeared and everyone was like, yes, he's gonna fucking kill them. I was like, okay, yeah, I love it. I love this movie from the prequels, just from this one movie theater experience, because like everyone was kind of just like sitting quietly, just enjoying the movie, you know. Obviously there's problems with it. I think the sort of stonewall delivery from Hayden Christensen is definitely like a problem, if you will, right? But still, I think that the charm of sort of like the film itself, and obviously like with the memes and everything like that, you know, I think that this is just such a fun movie theater experience. If it's still playing at your local theater, please go and see it. I think that this is just such a fun time. And, you know, I remember 20 years ago, I saw this in theaters. I was like, what, like fucking 6 years old or something like that. Yeah. You know, I saw it in theaters and I fucking fell asleep because I didn't understand Star Wars. I'm gonna be honest, I did not understand Star Wars, so I fell asleep and I woke up, I think, like towards like the end. So I didn't even see like the fucking cool like lightsaber fight.
That's crazy.
So yeah, you know, I definitely regret that. But you know, now that I've seen it on the big screen as a full-fledged adult, you know, I guess I'm sort of redeeming myself, if you will. But yeah, Revenge of the Sith is a lot of fun. Definitely not a perfect movie, but I think a really, really fun movie theater experience.
Yeah, I saw it was happening, and I would have loved to go and see it. I don't know. I think it's gone already. I think it was only for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But I remember I think when this movie came out, like 2005, right? Or something.
Yes.
So I think I was like 7 or whatever. And I remember being like obsessed with this movie. Like I was like fucking, like all the Clone Wars stuff. Like I remember the the Gendy Tartakovsky like Clone Wars like thingy they did when like Grievous was like killing everyone and stuff.
Yes.
Like, the dude who animated Samurai Jack. I'm like, that shit was like fucking epic, dude. Like I loved that shit as a kid. Like I was like so Star Wars pilled during this time, and Revenge of the Sith was always like a movie I always really loved as a kid. Obviously, I've seen it multiple times as an adult, and it's still like stupid or whatever, but out of all the prequel movies, it's still like the best one like it's just entertaining, right? Like even if it wasn't like the best in terms of acting or in terms of like story or whatever, I'm like entertained the whole way through, and I think that's enough for me. It's kind of like with Spider-Man 3 where like that movie's also bad,
yes,
but like it's fun. It's a fun movie. Like I have like a ton of fun watching that movie, and I feel the same way with Revenge of the Sith. So I'm glad people had that experience again, because it's a fun movie, So
yeah, it's a great time. Then the last movie I saw is Thunderbolts. Not going to spoil or say too much because obviously Damian hasn't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet.
So I don't want to. I don't want to sway his opinion, if you will, but. Yeah, I mean, if you've been seeing the Rotten Tomatoes score, the reviews and everything, yeah, it is a very, very good Marvel movie. That is what I will say.
Is it as good as everyone's saying, or is it a little overhyped?
I would say it's a little overhyped, but I will leave it at that. So,
okay.
I cannot wait to fully talk about it whenever Damian sees it, probably by next episode. Yeah. But yeah, let's get into the last bit of our recent activities, which is Lost Records, Bloom and Rage Tape 2. So... yeah, don't nod. They still don't like releasing their games fully, and they released it within part 1, part 2 kind of thing. And Tape 2, it takes place, obviously spoilers, just by the way. Yes. Tape 2 takes place after the huge cliffhanger that it is revealed that Kate, or sort of Kat, is dying. She is not doing well. She has leukemia, so she is terminally ill. And it sort of shows what happens after that, sort of the effects that it has on the friends within that group, how it affects Swan. Obviously, they also all got in trouble because of the huge, massive concert that they put on. So, it just shows the aftermath of all that and sort of them reconnecting. Like this entire tape is just you trying to keep everyone together as best as you can. And if you make certain decisions, certain characters won't appear within certain scenes. And that goes for the past and present. So yeah, I think that this tape is obviously very different than the first one, given the sort of circumstances, but I think it does it very, very well because, just like I think overall with the whole Lost Records Bloom and Rage game, it's not about like a opposing antagonist. It's just about like these characters and sort of their summer together, and just seeing them have like this huge fallout with each other because whether they felt like betrayed by Kat because she didn't tell them, or the fact that they all got in trouble, so they were all grounded and sort of all separated for like a good portion of this summer vacation. I think that by the end of it, you really do get to see that like they do have a really great friendship, and even though they weren't able to reconnect with each other until like almost 30 years later, they're still a part of that child in them that really wants to connect with each other.
Yeah, and I think this tape still does that really well. Obviously, it goes kind of fucking insane towards the end, but like them reconnecting with each other as both in the past and present with the adults or whatever. I think all that stuff was done really well, and it's still something I think this game does really well. Is just the vibes of the whole game, like the whole 90s vibes, the summer, like like having the best summer ever or whatever the fuck, like that stuff. I think it nails super hard, especially the first tape. Like the first tape I think nailed it really, really hard with that. Even if the first tape didn't really have much of a plot going, like it was more so just like about the characters, I think that's fine. Like this tape is definitely more like, okay, we need to have like a plot now, so like we're gonna have to like do stuff, right? So because you can't really have a story about that shit. So but I thought all the characters, like I think like reconnecting with everyone and going through like different things, like with like Autumn's like panic attack or whatever, and when Nora, when he has to like sneak in to get Kat, which I think you could fail, but I didn't fail. So I think if you fail that, it also counts as you like not reconnecting with her or some bullshit like that. But I think all those moments were done really well, especially the Autumn stuff, like with the panic attack. I thought that was a really good sequence, and just like talking it out also as adults and how it affects them, like just their lives now. You know, I saw on like, you know, people talking about on Twitter or on Reddit or whatever, where people were like, this hits really close to home if you like lost like a childhood friend that early on. Like, you know, like I feel like that would hit a lot harder if you didn't. So, you know, luckily we didn't experience that because that would be horrible. But, you know, I could imagine that being like a really like powerful, like just game, just like kind of get through this, like, you know, reconnect with your friends and like sort of like remember the memories you had or whatever. Like, I think all that stuff this game does really well. It just sort of towards the back half where it gets like insane. So and I feel like kind of like gets a little too crazy, but I feel like it's like a standard don't nod thing. Like I feel like it's kind of hard to do these type of games with like supernatural elements and kind of have them just end like normally. Like I still feel like Life is Strange 1 did it the best, weirdly enough, but like it's still like kind of hard to like accept it. I think because Life is Strange 1 explains it the most, as the other ones like kind of just don't. But anyway, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. But yeah, the game in general, I think like as a whole, I thought it was really good. I think it's probably like maybe my second favorite game. Life is Strange 1 is still the best one they've done, right? Like that's just like, come on. Like, I think everything Life is Strange 1 does, like both the vibes, also it does very well, but also just from a pure gameplay mechanic standpoint, like the time travel, like they peaked too early. Like time travel in like time travel in like these sort of narrative like choice games is so well done because, you know, you could pick what you want, then like, oh, let me go back to like pick something else, and then the game takes it away from you at certain points, so you really feel that like, you know, like, oh, you feel powerless at that point, and then it plays with that, with the messaging of the game. You know, brilliant, right? Like I think it does everything super well, but this game also nails its vibes and its characters really well, even if I think like the major overall story gets kind of weird, but I still think it's really good. So
yeah, you know, just seeing them reconnect and sort of have that bond and that friendship, you know, even though I think at the start of tape 2 it felt like a little rocky. It's like, oh shit, like how the fuck are we gonna, you know, like sort of bring everything back together. And I think your choices and your actions feel a lot more impactful during this portion of the game compared to tape 1, because it's like if you fuck up, damn, Autumn's not going to show up during the sort of asteroid thing or whatever, the sort of comet fall, and like other things that you might do may affect the other characters, etc., etc. So, you know, like your bond with these girls obviously matters a lot within the overall narrative and the overall gameplay mechanics. So, you know, just making sure that you don't fuck up as much, or even if you do, you just go back to checkpoint and just restart it over, which I try to not do too much. You know, I think that the beauty of a game like this is realizing and noticing when you're making these dynamic choices, especially during like a sort of ongoing dialogue where you have to like make like fast choices, and then maybe new choices pop up and maybe you don't want to go and pick that new choice, etc., etc. You know, like there's a lot of things going on within the gameplay mechanics that you might not even notice compared to like other just like normal graphic adventure games.
Yeah, and actually that is one thing I really love about the gameplay in this game is the that new like choice like mechanic they have during this whole game, where it's like, I guess, dynamic choices, like things show up if you wait a little bit. You could say nothing at all. Like new options will open up if maybe you have enough relationship points with them. Like I think that stuff was really cool, and the fact that the game never pauses, like you're always in like real time basically. So like whenever you have to like look around a room frantically to like do something, you really feel like, fuck, what am I doing?
Yes,
so,
yes.
I think that's really well done. Like I hope like any of their future games like Don't Nod kind of keeps this sort of dynamic choice thingy, because it really adds the pressure to the game. Like honestly, I felt stressed out because I'm like, fuck, what am I doing?
Yes.
You know? So, yeah.
Yeah, there are definitely times where I got timinged by the game where I was like, I'm waiting, and then I go and pick a choice, and then I see the third option pop up. I'm like, fuck, let me go restart from checkpoint, see what that third option was. I don't even pick it, you know, sometimes. I'm like, you know what, that third option was actually not that great. I think that I would get like a broken heart from that, so let me just go and pick the original choice that I wanted. So yeah, you know, I think that was a really great way to sort of change up the standard graphic adventure type of gameplay. I think that Don't Nod, I feel like that there's like this Don't Nod jank, if you will. Like I think a lot of their games just don't run perfect, right? Like I think there's still going to be like pop-in issues. There's still going to be like little things within like the presentation that'll take you out of the experience. And I think that that's fine because the game visually just looks phenomenal. It looks fantastic.
It looks good, yeah.
It looks very, very good. The lip syncing is obviously something that was plagued within the first Life is Strange game. Obviously, we are so far in a ways from that. Now the lip syncing is very much sort of in sync.
Right.
I think the voice acting, this was my problem with the sort of first tape. It obviously carries through within to here, is that like all of the voice actors feel like that they're not in the same room together. So
Right.
like certain like delivery or certain dialogue is like, it just doesn't fit the same tone that they're going for with like certain conversations, if you will.
Right. Yeah. I kind of feel that way too. And, same thing with the Donut jank, where it's like, I had a bug where, when they like reminisce or whatever, and like the voices come up, but they're like kind of like distorted or whatever to show you that they're in the past, or like, speaking you from the past or whatever. All Kat's voice lines just didn't have that filter. So it just sounded like she was just saying stuff. So that was kind of weird. Obviously like pop in stuff and like some just general graphical jank as well. Like that's expected, but I still think the game, it probably is one of the best looking games they've made in terms of like graphic fidelity. I mean, I think it looks better than, I know they didn't make double exposure, but like in terms of like the last like Life is Strange game, I think it does look a bit like graphically better than that game does. And I don't think like you need hyper realistic graphics with these type of games, but the style helps it a lot. Like I think the 90s style and just like how it looks, the colors are really nice as well. So anything with the void or the abyss or whatever, like I think the effects look really nice whenever like they kind of get fucking possessed by the abyss or whatever the fuck. So and the game kind of has the same issues that I think Double Exposure has with like the first tape I think introduces a lot of areas, which I liked a lot, but then tape 2 I don't think introduces like any new areas, like besides like Cat's house, I think. That's about it. Like it still feels a little small compared to something like Life is Strange 1. Life is Strange 2 kind of takes the cake of having like the most areas in like a game like this, but it still felt like there was like the cast was also tiny, like it wasn't as big as like Life is Strange 1 either, but I think it was okay enough. Like I think you're mostly focused on the 4 girls anyway, and that's sort of like the central like mechanic of the game anyways, like building your relationships with them and getting to know them and stuff with the like the heart mechanic or whatever. So I think the smaller cast works better here than it did in like Double Exposure or whatever, right? It just felt like that game kind of had a smaller cast because it couldn't like afford to have more people or whatever. So, but I did wish they would do more with, I think Dylan was good. I think that's the sister's name, right? Dylan.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Corey, I felt like could fleshed out a lot more. I felt like he kind of just became like generic, like I'm evil villain. And I know it's because he got like possessed by the abyss or whatever or something. But I feel like even before then, like I feel like they were going to do more with his character to make him a bit more like not one note. But he really did feel very one note. And I wish they kind of did more with him to like flesh him out, I guess.
Yeah, like, I guess on the sort of subject of Corey, it's like he's just an asshole for the sake of being an asshole, right? Like, it could have been.
I get what he was trying to do. Like, he was trying to marry Dylan so he'd get control of the farm or whatever. Like, that was his whole thing. So he didn't want everyone to fuck it up for him or whatever. But it did feel like he was just being an asshole to be a dickhead, Like, yeah. So.
Yeah. Like there's like no reason or sort of rhyme or reason as to why he's behaving that way, other than like they need someone to be a opposing force to the girls and sort of what they're doing around town and all this other stuff, right? So, I guess with that sort of front with the whole characters, I did like the fact that within tape 2 we were able to sort of change Dylan in a way and sort of have her sort of stick up for herself more, because obviously she's in this toxic relationship with him, whether she wants to be in it or not. You being able to influence her decisions and sort of maybe have that be a way to sort of alleviate what's going on within that house, right? So but I guess like the whole supernatural stuff with this tape and everything like that, like I was just wondering, like, how are they going to tie it all back together? Because, obviously, like, it's a very cool effect that they have going on with the whole abyss and whenever that stuff comes on screen, it looks visually pleasing. But I was like, how is this going to tie everything up? And like you said, Damian, earlier with the ending just being like, what the hell is going on kind of thing, I definitely was a bit stranged or weirded out by it, because I was like, all right, like how is this, like I said, how is it all going to tie together? Because I think tape 2 has the most like slowed down moments where you're kind of just watching them do stuff, right? Like there's like minutes, 5 to maybe even 10 minutes at at a time of just watching these girls just like do stuff and just like go through the motions and their, you know, sort of their feelings. And then you get to the whole Abyss thing where it sort of all comes back to sort of that stuff and sort of what was in the box. You know, I had no idea what the fuck was going to be in that box. I thought it was going to be something like crazy or whatever, but it was just like a bunch of just like, you know, stuff from Kat, you know, stuff that she saved onto. You know, that CD was definitely a little too clean. That, you know, Candy sort of wristband was definitely, you know, bought like yesterday or something like that. You know, like I think that they definitely could have been a little bit more rough around the edges with some of those tokens in there. But, you know, that part was just like very, very nice to sort of wrap everything together before it sort of got like a little bit too crazy for my taste.
Yeah, I just feel like, again, going back to Life is Strange 1, it's like, I feel like that game probably did the best explaining like all the stuff, mostly because like time travel is like such a like a well-known trope in like media or whatever. So you get to know like, you know, Chaos Theory brought that up and like the butterfly effect and all that fun stuff. And obviously it goes to shit at episode 5 in Life is Strange where everything's like breaking apart and stuff. And it shows that, you know, no matter how hard you try to change reality, like you can't. Like, you know, that's the whole lesson Max learns. And like, you know, Chloe accepting her decision, you know, going from my ending, Chloe accepting like her fate or whatever is just like, you know, you can't escape it or whatever the fuck, right? Like, I think like that stuff all made sense, right? Like at least to me, like time tornado is just like kind of like a metaphor. Like I get it. Like it really was a fucking time tornado, but like, yeah, you kind of get where it was coming from. With the Abyss, I know fucking nothing about, right? Besides, all I'm getting is like vague witch vibes from it, like, you know, like Coven stuff or, you know, witch sisters, like whenever the thing disappeared, like it became the mushrooms or whatever, like, you know, like that's kind of what like I'm getting, like has something to do with witches or whatever. But besides that, it doesn't really explain itself like at all, which is fine. Like it doesn't have to, but I do feel like what was going on there, like Corey got like possessed by it, I guess, and he went fucking crazy at the end. And then for some reason, Kat felt like, oh, we can't talk about this ever. But I'm like, why though?
Yeah, exactly. Like that moment miffed me because I was like, wait, what? Like, why can't we? Like, you all can't just like keep it amongst yourselves and not talk about it, but still be friends, right? Because she was like, we cannot ever see each other. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, I'm like legit did not get why you guys couldn't be friends still. Like, obviously Kat was going to go away. Like, she got like Thanos snaps or whatever. But like the rest of the friends, I'm like, well, why not? She doesn't really explain why they couldn't do anything. I thought it was because like they would have to explain Corey's death or whatever. I'm like, okay, I guess. But then like, not really. Like, he also kind of just like disappears into the abyss or whatever. So I don't really know like why they had to like not be in contact for that long. Like I thought it would be like some big thing why they couldn't do it, but it was just like, no, just don't do it. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess.
Yeah, so. Because everything that happened at like the farm and you like vandalizing everything and letting go of those deer, it was all pinned on Corey anyways. Yeah. So it was kind of just like, I don't know why that decision that Kat came up with where it was like, you guys can never talk to each other yet. I was like, what is happening here? You know, and maybe it was for like selfish reasons where it's like you guys cannot hang out with each other unless I'm there. I don't know. That seems like really stupid. So yeah, I don't know. That decision really threw me off at the end. But you know, like I said, going through like that box of like everything and sort of like seeing like all of the sort of little tokens and everything like that, that was a lot of fun. And I think that side of the presentation of the game of you just like picking stuff up and just like hearing like those tiny little sound effects of you like yeah, it was just so good, and I think that is definitely one of the best parts of like Donut's new presentation when it comes to the sort of graphic adventure narrative games.
Yeah, and I guess like the last thing was like sort of like the you know, if you could get everyone for the reunion or not. I think we both just got Autumn to stick around. Nora was really hard to get to stick around. And, you know, you get like a little nice scene with like everyone like hanging out. Like, I guess even if you don't get Nora, you get like the ghosts of like past Nora over there.
Yes, you get the ghost pass of like both of them.
Yeah, so like, and that was cute, I guess. But then at the end, you get sort of like a post-credit stinger where like Kat is still alive and in the abyss, and then Swan is just like, I'm gonna fucking get you, and then it ends. So I'm like, what the fuck? Like, so like I've heard that apparently they'd want this to be like a series, like Lost Records in general. And I don't know if they're gonna follow up on this or if it's just gonna be like a new story, like a new anthology series or whatever. But and you get like that's like insane because I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? So yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see if they do a follow up or if maybe they do something else with this series. I don't really know, but it's kind of insane to end it like that. But I guess Kat's alive in the abyss and she's stuck in there. So I don't know what Swan's going to do, but I guess there we go.
Yeah. I guess just going back a little bit, just going back to, when we are in the present, we never see Swan, and that decision to make it so the first time we see her is when we realize that the camera's still in there, and then it flips around, and I'm like, oh, okay, like that was like such a nice way to do it, and then we're back to the third person view because now we've explored everything within the past, and now we're back in the present. I just thought that was a nice touch, but yeah, like that. I guess like post credit scene where like you get to play it out after the credits. I was like, okay, like what are we doing here? So it looks like that they're gonna flesh that out maybe within a Lost Records 2. I have no idea. I think that these characters are very strong, but I feel like with this group of characters, it feels like that their story is kind of done, right? Like we've done everything with them. We've explored their past and sort of why they came back together and everything like that. So, maybe this is going to be a new anthology series. Who knows? Maybe it's not like a Life is Strange 2 situation where they flub it up on the sequel. Yeah. But, I'm just curious as to where they're going to head into this potential franchise, if you will.
Yeah. But yeah, it was good. I recommend it. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully they do more of these games. And, this is definitely Don't Nod's strong suit. I know they experimented with a bunch of like action RPGs and stuff, but I think storytelling is definitely where they do the best at. So hopefully just stick with this series, and I guess we'll see where they go from there.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into the news of things. First up, the Mario Kart World Direct, probably the most useless fucking Nintendo Direct we've ever seen, honestly.
Yep.
So it was kind of just 16 minutes of them showing off what's going to be in Mario Kart World, and it was kind of just stuff that I think a lot of people knew or expected. Like they had a reel of like the characters, the courses, the modes, the items, the sort of new mechanics like the charge jump and everything like that. I don't know. It just feels like I thought that there was going to be more in this direct that maybe would have explained more of like maybe like the free roam stuff, maybe even some other new features that we didn't know about, but it just felt like they were just retreading stuff that I think a lot of people already know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Like there was just like nothing here. I was really hoping for some more information on the free roam stuff, because that's like the thing I've been the most interested in. Like, what's justifying this game being $80 type of deal? Obviously, we're getting it with our Switch too, but they mentioned the P-Switch stuff with the missions, and that's cool, but I really wanted more information on that. I'm a big fan of Mario Kart DS, which had the mission mode. Had like boss fights and everything. Mario Kart DS is my favorite Mario Kart personally. And I would have loved to see more of that, because I think the last few Mario Karts have like pretty bad single player, in my opinion. And I know people play multiplayer mostly, but it wouldn't hurt to have like really cool missions or boss fights like Mario Kart DS had. I thought it really made it stood out. And we didn't get like a ton of information just besides like, oh, you could do like missions around the world and that's about it. So I'm like, oh, well, I hope that's enough to justify the open world like being a thing, right? Because I know some people are kind of disappointed that a lot of the track design is just kind of straight lines going from one track to the other, and like you only do like one lap of the actual track, right? So I guess we'll see when the game actually comes out how it feels. But the rest of the direct was kind of pointless. Like, we got some new movement options, like jumping on like anything. That's really cool. Like you get like parkour, like that's really neat. You get like the rewind ability. I think only in single player you could do that, but that's pretty cool to like learn shortcuts or whatever. But besides that, it just wasn't really a lot. Like, yeah, the Mario Kart World still looks really good, but this was like super not needed, and they really had to like explain more about mostly to me like the open world and like why is this necessary and like what are we doing here, right? So yeah. Definitely like a very pointless direct. I agree.
One of my favorite things is that we actually have lobbies if you want to play with your friends online with Mario Kart, because I think if you want to queue up with your friends on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch right now, you kind of have to like queue snipe each other, which is obviously like very hard and difficult. So for them to be like, hey, we're gonna use this sort of open world zone so you could actually get into a lobby with your friends before you guys queue up for some Mario Kart World. So you know what, that's pretty cool. But other than that, like most of this direct was kind of just stuff that I think a lot of people knew about, or just details that are just not that exciting. So Yeah, we're still excited for Mario Kart World because, I mean, I guess we'll just talk about the Switch 2 pre-order stuff. Obviously, the Switch 2 pre-order sort of went up during the time that we were away. It was confirmed that nothing was changing in price for the systems. The systems would stay at $450 and $500 for the Mario Kart bundle, but the prices of the accessories would increase. So, for example, the Pro Controller is now $85. The Joy-Cons is $95. I think Amiibos, the Amiibos across the board from Street Fighter to Zelda are like $30 a piece now, which is fucking insane. I feel bad for any of the Amiibo collectors out there because that is just insane to pay for like a piece of plastic that's like maybe 5 to 8 inches tall and you can interact with it within your games. Like it just doesn't really, meet that price point in my opinion. But then obviously pre-orders went up and everyone had a very different experience. Yeah. I will explain mine after Damian's because I think mine was a little bit more in depth because I got multiple pre-orders, but I will explain my justification after.
Yeah, I don't know how you got like multiple. I was like fighting for my life for just one. So I was away. So I was in an Airbnb. So, usually when this stuff happens, I would have my monitor. I have like, my dual monitors and like get Ravi. Like that's how I did for the PS5 pre-orders. And it was a pretty comfortable experience because I just have it on my computer and it's easier to refresh or whatever. For when I was over there, I only really had my phone and like an iPad. So I had like both of them like sort of refreshing like this. I was doing like this and multiple things. And it was hard to have like Wario 64 up at the same time to tell me when things were happening. I know Walmart and Target went up first, and
yes.
It dropped at 12. Everything should have dropped at 12, but Best Buy took their sweet time getting out, which actually saved me at the end. But the whole experience was, I went to Target first. I put it in my cart. It was working. I went to check out. Didn't work. This happened to a shit ton of people where people just like got on their cart in Target. And then they got met with like, oh, like your address is like wrong, or we're getting errors, or you're getting all this bullshit. So I just kept mashing the fucking order button on my iPhone for the Target one, and then on my iPad I kept refreshing Walmart to get the pre-order over there. So I got in line for the queue. At first I just went for the app, but that just wasn't working. So I had to like go to the actual website on Safari and then like go wait in the queue line. So it was like that for like 30 minutes. I was just doing that for like 30 minutes, just desperately wanting to get the Switch 2. And then the Best Buy, I saw Wario 64 17 seconds ago. Best Buy pre-orders up. Got into it. I waited maybe for like 10 minutes in the line, and then I was able to get it. And I was like 12:40 or Ravi. So it was like 40 minutes have passed since the thing dropped. And I was just like, thank fucking God. So I was lucky to get through Best Buy. I know a lot of people didn't. Like once that initial, like after like a minute of Best Buy being up, like it just shot itself. So I was really lucky to get Best Buy. It's still there. I just checked right now. So that was my experience. It was fucking stressful.
Yes. Pre-ordering anything of sort of this capacity and everyone's sort of eyeballing it, whether it's gamers, collectors, resellers, literally everyone has their eyes on the Switch 2 pre-orders. And especially since everyone knew that it was going to go up at midnight, even more so. So obviously websites were going to crash. I've had experiences with not just system drops, but also just like drops in general when it comes to like clothing and maybe some other stuff, when like limited drops happen, it's like, you got to fucking be there. Like a second could mean like everything kind of thing. So when it came to Target, because I have some insider information when it comes to Target. So I had the app open and I just kept closing the app and reopening it, clicking on the Switch 2 page and then see if the sort of pre-order button went up. Because if you do it on the app, you could like check out within like 2 to 3 seconds. Yeah. So as soon as it went up, I got it. And then I saw everything like went down for Target. Like even on like my desktop, like Target just suddenly just like crashed. Like nothing would load. I was like, all right, it looks like I got one. But obviously I was scared that it was going to get canceled. So I was like, I need to secure other pre-orders. So I'm not doing it because I'm fucking reselling, guys. I'm not doing it. I've already hooked up a couple of other people. The other 3 pre-orders that I got, one of them is going to our good friend Kofi. The other one's going to my cousin's boyfriend. Then the 4th one is potentially going to a coworker. They're all still a little iffy on it. So, if anything goes wrong, I will definitely reach out to you other people within my life and sort of get them to buy it off of me for what I paid for. I'm not trying to upcharge it or anything because I think it is a lot more satisfying to get someone to not just pay you for what you got, but also it just feels better for me. Just like, you got something that was like something that you probably missed out on, and something that you really want, and you're not overpaying for it. I'm not trying to scumaz people or anything like that, so that was that. And then when it came to Walmart, I think Walmart was probably the smoothest for like a lot of people, because you just got in, you waited on the queue, and then once you got in, you had 10 minutes to check out. And at this point, I was trying to get one for Damian, because I was like, Damian, did you get one? He was like, no.
Yeah.
And then I think I think I fucked up during the checkout, and I think I forgot to hit save on Damian's address, and I was like, fuck, it didn't save. But luckily, Damian got his own. So I got 2 through Walmart on 2 different accounts, because I had my girlfriend also helping me out, and she got into Walmart before I did. So, got those 3. And then last one was Best Buy, because Best Buy took forever. The beauty about Best Buy was that it was all pickup. So you were just competing with people in your area. You weren't competing with people around the world, right? Like yours was pickup, right, Damian, for Best Buy? Or
yeah. No, mine was like normal. Like I have it for shipping for my address. So.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. I think
I'm
because
now. Yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah. I think because for the most part, I think it was local pickup. People were able to get theirs.
So for a while, I saw that it was only giving me that option, but then I put shipping, and then it was fine, because I'm checking it right now, because I was like away, I was in a different state, so that's why I was also like I need to make sure this is like my address. So I'm checking it right now, and it's good. It's like where I'm at right now. So
because the beauty about Best Buy was that local pickup, but also on top of that, they're doing a midnight release. So like if you go to your local Best Buy, whichever one that you pre-ordered it from, you go there at midnight, you could actually just pick it up right then and there and go home and play it. So that's what I'm probably going to do with that one. And then the other ones, as long as they don't get canceled, I will hand them out and get my friends to pay for what I got for them. So yeah, it was definitely a very hectic experience, and I think a lot of people got miffed by it. I even think Walmart, even like a few days after, we're getting like pre-orders pop up every now and then. But yeah, the main reason why I got multiple pre-orders was just to make sure that one of them didn't get canceled on me, because if I only had one and then it got fucking canceled, I would be fucking destroyed. Yeah. But also just to make sure that, whatever friends within my circle got theirs, because, some of them are not great at getting drops, or maybe they didn't even know and they like forgot or whatever. So, shit happens. So yeah, to those people that are still waiting on getting a Switch 2 pre-order, don't hold out. Don't give in to the fucking scalpers. Just wait, and hopefully Nintendo doesn't increase the price between now and then because of the tariffs.
Yeah. That's like my biggest fear was like, I need to get this now because it could like increase in price because of like the tariff situation. So I really want to make sure I got it now. And luckily, I was very lucky to secure it. And usually I do good in pre-order drops when some random fucking thing just come up randomly. Like I remember when the PS5 stuff was dropping and everyone was like kind of launching at the same time, but Walmart just launched early, and then I was able to get it because like no one else like saw that coming. I was just like, I fucking got that shit immediately. So whenever like someone goes rogue is when I do good. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened with me and Target, because I think I got in before Wario64 even like tweeted it out. So and obviously, like I said, I did it on the app because the app was just like the fastest way to do it, because if you try to do it on desktop, you got pages loading and everything like that. So yeah, the Target app is actually pretty good. I got I also bought the Pro controller because it looks nice. It was like it's a lot of money because of the tariff stuff, but it did look nice. And my Pro controller is like so old now, like it's been since my launch Switch, so I really needed a new one. So I'm excited to get that as well. And that's the only things I bought. Like I didn't buy any games yet. I'll wait until I got more money. So yeah. And because every single console I got was without Mario Kart, I realized I'm gonna pick it up at because I went for that just because my personal theory is that like that bundle's just gonna be easier to get because everyone's gonna try to get the Mario Kart one because you're gonna be saving money and everything like that.
I got a Mario Kart one, so I have it.
Yeah. So because I got the non-Mario Kart one for my Best Buy pre-order, I was like, fuck, what am I gonna play at midnight? So then the next day I pre-ordered Mario Kart for local pickup at that same Best Buy, and I was like, fuck, that's like $90 after tax. I'm gonna fucking kill myself. But anyways, like what the fuck else am I gonna play, right? So but yeah, that's pretty much everything.
I mean, that's cool that you're getting it at midnight because I don't know when it's going to come for me. I mean, it's coming the release date, but it's probably going to come later in the day. So you definitely will have some more Mario Kart experience before I do. So.
Yeah, I have to check if my days off work went through after the show. But
All right, so yeah, there was like a lot of things that were happening when I was gone. So yeah, so Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remaster happened as well. So this was like heavily rumored for like a year already. Like like this has been like the main rumor for fucking ever, and I was just kind of waiting for it to come out at this point. Every month like someone was like, oh, it's coming out this month. For sure this time, and then it didn't, and I'm like, okay, and now like when we reached April, which is like, okay, this week is gonna happen, and then I kept doing it, and now we finally got it, and I think they did pretty good from what I've been seeing. I watched the 20-minute sort of like presentation they did, and it seems like they really enhanced the game quite a bit in terms of graphics. They fixed some of the jank that Oblivion had, but still kept its charm. Stop there, criminal scum. Like all the meme stuff is still there. Obviously, the game is running on Unreal 5, so some people are having performance issues because Unreal 5 is kind of unwieldy a lot of the time. I wanted to play it before the podcast, but I didn't have time. I definitely would want to try it before before the next podcast starts, just to have an idea of like what's about or whatever. But it's really cool to see like Elder Scrolls fans get something, because I don't think Elder Scrolls 6 is going to come out for another like 5 fucking years at this point. And we're just like 15 years of Skyrim at this point. I think fans wanted some love for some of the other past games, and people have been really, really enjoying this Oblivion remake, and it seemed that Bethesda has really like put all the stops for this one in terms of like just like the love and care that like a remaster like this could get. And again, it seems like most of the problems are just performance issues. So hopefully those can get ironed out. But I think it looks like a really good, faithful remake or a remaster rather. And I kind of hope to do some for the Fallout games. Like I would love a Fallout 3 and New Vegas one. I think I'm more of a Fallout fan than an Elder Scrolls fan, but like I'm excited to play this because I would like to play Oblivion and actually finish Skyrim for real this time. I've always played like 30, 40 hours of Skyrim and always stop every time. So I definitely want to like go through that whole game at some point. But yeah, this Oblivion remaster, people seem to be pretty happy with it, and it looks pretty damn good. So good job, Bethesda, you did it. So.
Yeah, it seems like this was something that has been on everyone's mind within that circle within gaming, if you will. And this was something that my girlfriend was very excited about. So I was like, all right, I'll buy it for you. It was actually only $40. I was like very surprised by it.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'll buy it for you on your PlayStation 5. And she was like, no, I want it on PC. I was like, girl, we saw what happened with Hogwarts Legacy. Your shit is not running on PC. Come on, let's be fair. So I bought it for her on the PS5, and she's been enjoying it. She played like a few hours of it. She did say that it was pretty buggy, which I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
It's a fucking Bethesda game, if you will.
Yeah.
There's always going to be bugs and shit like that, but she was enjoying it. So, I'm glad that this is something that was actually a reality. I think that this is something that, fans and sort of people within the community were just like, it's never going to happen. But it looks like that they were able to sort of keep their lips tight for the most part before it got leaked like massively.
Yeah. Like, again, like this has been known forever. And like, I'm just happy that Elder Scrolls fans got something, because like it's been so long since like any new Elder Scrolls project, and technically this isn't even new, but at least it's like a nice refresh on a beloved game like Oblivion. And it comes with all the DLC, I believe. I think they're still selling horse armor though, which is fucking funny, but that is what it is. So I think after Starfield, I think Bethesda kind of needed a win, because Starfield was kind of just like the most like 6 out of 10 game I've ever played. Like it had a lot of good stuff in it, but it had like a way more bad stuff. And after playing Fallout 4 with renewed eyes and actually really enjoying Fallout 4, I'm like, I think Bethesda does make good games. I think they just need to like kind of like reevaluate what made them good to begin with. So I think having an Oblivion remaster is a good way to get people's good graces with Bethesda again. So yeah.
All right, so we got the Ghost of Yōtei, the Onryō list. Hopefully I said that right.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
But yeah, we got a new trailer for the Ghost of Yōtei. It also has a release date of October 2nd, 2025 now, so they are very confident that they're going to hit that date. But yeah, it seems like that this trailer is going to be like a revenge plot. Something happened with these people that we saw, and she's going to go after them and kill them. So I'm down for it. I'm very, very excited for this game. Sucker Punch Productions is one of my favorite PlayStation studios, and they have been working on this game for several years now, and I am excited to see what this game will entail, especially because the Ghost of Tsushima was a massive game. There was just so much to do within that open world. The story was very rich with Jin Sakai and everything like that. So, now we're taking on a brand new sort of protagonist, a new era for feudal Japan. There's definitely going to be a lot of things different. So I want to see how that will entail.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good. I mean, apparently the story is supposed to be like non-linear, so you could like tackle like any of these guys at any point. Apparently, I think that's what Sucker Punch said. So that's pretty neat. I know the Assassin's Creed games do that as well, where you could kind of like take like any target you want down at any time or whatever. So it's kind of cool that they're kind of going for that approach. I do wonder how that's going to play narratively, because I know doing non-linear storylines could be kind of difficult to make like a cohesive narrative. I'm assuming like each time you take down one of these dudes, you get like a flashback about your past, and then you kind of like piece it together like that or whatever. And yeah, I mean, the game looks good, cool premise. I'm excited to see like where they go from here. I mean, this game takes place of like a few centuries, I think, after Ghost of Tsushima. So the technological advances are going to be neat. Like I think you can use guns like flintlock pistols or whatever. So that should spice up gameplay a bit as well. And I'm just excited to see like the new environment and like what new activities you could do throughout the world. I loved Ghost of Tsushima. Like I thought that was a fantastic open world game. The story really surprised me at how good it was as well. And it was just a solid ass like open world samurai game, right? Like that's all you really want from that. And if Sucker Punch can nail it again, I'd be all for it, because Ghost of Tsushima was like an absolute banger. So I'm definitely down for like more of this. And it comes out pretty soon, October 2nd, right? So 5 months away.
And to anyone that's interested, there is a collector's edition. I forgot to mention that. I don't know if pre-orders went up for it. I think it's a PlayStation Direct exclusive, just like with the Spider-Man 2 one. I don't think pre-orders went up. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyways, that's like $250. That shit is way out of my budget, especially nowadays. But yeah, if that's something you're interested in, it is available.
All right. So next we got like a bunch of bad gaming news. So EA have laid off a bunch of people. So according to Jason Schreier, this was reported by him, 300 to 400 positions were eliminated at EA, including around 100 at Respawn. And a canceled project that was codenamed R7, which was an extraction shooter based on Titanfall, was also canceled. Apparently, it wasn't close to being released, according to Jason Schreier, but some other sources said it was. But I'm going to choose to believe Jason Schreier. So apparently, it wasn't close to being released. I know Respawn made some like tweet like explaining some stuff, but it was mostly just PR talk, so it didn't really like matter or whatever. And right now I think Respawn just wants to focus on the next Jedi Survivor game, or I guess next Jedi game, whatever it's called, and probably Apex Legends as well. And this sucks. I think these layoffs, obviously with just the gaming industry in general, being faced with so many layoffs lately, EA itself hasn't been doing super well. Like I know Dragon Age the Veilguard, he says it here in the article as well, that it missed sale expectations by 50%. So that game really kind of missed the mark in terms of sales. I know Respawn, like I don't think Jedi Survivor sold as much as they wanted to, mostly because the game was like omega broken when it came out. And for me that was like kind of like I bought it and I didn't even play it because of like how much of like, well, I'll just wait until they fix it. And then like I guess they did eventually, but a lot of my hype kind of died down after that point, right? And I know Apex Legends hasn't exactly been doing super well lately. Like I don't really hear anyone talk about that game as much anymore. So it doesn't surprise me that these layoffs has hit EA and Respawn, but it really sucks because especially Respawn are just such great developers. Like I know Jedi Survivor is a good game, and I love Jedi Fallen Order as well. Obviously Titanfall 1 and 2 are also fantastic games, so seeing them get hit with layoffs and seeing another Titanfall game get canceled is heartbreaking.
Yeah, I think Titanfall came out at a maybe too soon to be realized that it was actually like a good game, and I think a lot of people were just not into it when they dropped. So and then after Titanfall 2, they were like, we'll spin it off into Apex Legends. We'll take a lot of the mechanics and everything like that worked within Titanfall 2 and then just make it into a battle royale, which obviously that worked. Apex Legends has been going on for years and years and years, and the Star Wars Jedi games kind of came out of left field, I would say, when that game came out. I think it was late 2021, I want to say.
I could check. Let me see.
That game came out of nowhere, and it was kind of just like, oh yeah, like this is like a really good Star Wars game that has sort of like Souls-like combat, and they seem to be really diving into those two games in particular, which is, I want to say, a little bit worrying, because I think the thing with
by the way, for the first
2019.
One. Yeah,
Holy
for the first
fuck,
one,
bro.
Yeah.
We're old. Oh
yeah.
my god. Anyways, yeah, I think when it comes to the games industry as a whole, obviously layoffs has been fucking plagued like the past like 3 years, maybe even less than that. Just like the amount of people that are just getting let go within the industry, and it's hard to keep talent on to have new people even come in to be like, yeah, I want to work in the games industry. When you see layoffs upon layoffs, like it feels like every single month, like there's a new studio or a new merger that causes more layoffs to sort of make the pockets bigger for those higher up, if you will. And for Respawn to be like, I read their statement a little bit, but it pretty much them saying like we are just reevaluating our assets and all this other stuff. We're just consolidating to just like Apex and Star Wars. And I was like, that's a little worrying. I feel like if you don't have a large library of stuff to really fall back on, what is the new exciting thing that people are going to look forward to? What, another fucking Apex update? Obviously, the sort of third and possibly final game within the Star Wars Jedi series. That's exciting. But after that, it's like, what does Respawn really have, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a lack of variety within the games industry, a lot of it because of the whole live service push that a lot of these studios really went for, including PlayStation. That's a reason why PlayStation has fallen behind with this console generation, why they don't have a lot of sort of big hitters every single year. They really front loaded the PlayStation 5 generation with PS4 crossover games. And then after that, it was kind of just like, all right, we got Spider-Man, and then we got this other game, and like there's not a lot of, sort of pushback from PlayStation to continuously have new and exciting titles every single year. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Ghost of Yōtei, I hope that it does well, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's something within that game that possibly got cut out or something like that just to meet their deadline of October again. Like it happened with Spider-Man 2, where they had to cut like a major part of like the Venom story to make that October date. And I hope that doesn't happen with the Ghost of Yōtei, just because PlayStation is doing all this other stuff. But yeah, layoffs and sort of EA as a whole, just like, them not allowing these people to, have a nice, secure, stable job is obviously never good for the industry.
Yeah. Again, sucks because Respawn are such talented devs, and like they made some like super good stuff. Like Fallen Order was like such a good game, and I know Jedi Survivor is as well, and I do need to play it. And again, with the Titanfall game, so it really sucks. The guy hit with like 100 people leaving, like that's massive. So, and I think that the hopes of a new Titanfall game are basically dashed forever at this point. So, hopefully they can rebound from this, and I guess we'll see how it goes, because that's just how it is with these layoffs at this point.
Yeah, the day a new Titanfall game comes out is the day that I think me and Damian are fucking in our rocking chairs, like old as shit. Like I don't think that's ever gonna happen at this point. Just judging by the way EA is just treating that IP in and of itself. All right, another bit of bad news that didn't really have to happen, but I guess Xbox and Microsoft are like, we need to raise the prices of everything. So yeah, when it comes to consoles and accessories, so the main thing is that the Xbox Series X went from $500 to $600.
Yep.
I think this happened for PlayStation as well, but I think it was in other territories, not in the US.
Yeah.
So this one is happening within the US, so that's like the first major one. And then most of the accessories, I think the wireless controllers are staying the same. But like the premium controllers and like the headsets and all of that stuff, most of those got increased between $10 to $20. So yeah, Microsoft, Xbox, I just gotta talk to you straight. Who the fuck do you think you are, kind of thing? Where it's like you guys are increasing the prices of this hardware and software for like no real reason other than the fact that they're using the opportunity that possibly Nintendo opened up to them, where it's like, yeah, like the tariffs and like sort of like the market that's going on right now, why we need to increase the prices. Sure, I guess, but even then it's like this really doesn't make any sense, especially since Xbox is sort of at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to the big three sort of guys within the console market, right? It's like no one was really buying Xboxes before, and now no one's definitely going to buy a fucking Xbox for $600. That console is like close to 5 years old at this point. I feel like if you have a Series X, you wanted one at this point. And now anyone that does want one is going to have an even harder time debating with themselves if they should even get one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, it sucks too, because I actually thought Microsoft this year has been doing pretty well in terms of like software. They had like Indiana Jones at the December of last year. They have the Oblivion thing on Game Pass. They have Expedition 33 on Game Pass. They have South of Midnight on Game Pass. They had a lot of bangers on Game Pass recently, and people have been really enjoying that. But then they put shit like this, where it's like, okay, now we're gonna increase the prices of our consoles by $100, and or accessories by like $20 to $30 more. And I'm just like, I don't even know who's buying Series X's anymore, right? Like, I feel like you're just hurting like your own like market at this point. Like, I don't even see the point of doing this. Like, no one was buying this shit to begin with. I'm happy to doing that and not increasing the price of Game Pass yet. I mean, it probably will, but like as of right now, like PC Game Pass is still $10, which is like insane. So that's still good. But it just feels kind of tone deaf with like how the market's going and how like none of these companies want to eat anything to make sure the user experience is good. They don't want to sell things for a loss. Like, they want to keep making money, even though like I think Microsoft like released their financial reports like a few weeks before this, and they seems to be doing pretty okay. So it just seems more like greed. Like, they want more money, and obviously it's not like all their fault. Like, the global fucking economic market has been a fucking disaster and clown show the last like year. So I get it. Like, we're gonna see price increases because of certain people in power at the moment. But there's a point where it's like it's still like kind of half their fault and half like theirs. And I think the big reason why we're seeing games jump to 80 is to kind of like offset the hardware costs, because they know people are going to buy those games at $80, even though it's like, oh, but digital games don't have tariffs. Like, that makes no sense. And to me, I think it's just because they want to offset like whatever money they're losing from the hardware side. Still bullshit. Yeah. Like, we shouldn't be doing that, but that's just how it is. And I think $80 games is fucking awful. Like, I hate it. I don't like it. I will never like it. But at least for Microsoft, at least we have Game Pass. Like, that's a thing. Unless you start taking these games out of Game Pass, then I think Microsoft is fucking done, right? So I guess we'll see where they go in the future, but they better tread carefully because, again, like you said, they're at the fucking bottom of the totem pole. So they have like no room to be like doing this shit. So
yeah, $80 games, you could blame Nintendo's Mario Kart World for that to a certain extent. It's like, it's insane that we've jumped from 60 to 70 to now 70 to 80 in such a short time, compared to when games consistently were $60 brand new. Now it's like games are consistently dropping at $70, and now it looks like they might even drop at 80. And $80 is close to 90 when you include sales tax, which is close to $100. So that is an insane pill to swallow, and I think people are going to be a lot more picky and choosy, especially if most of these games are going to be dropping at $80, $79.99 type of thing. So yeah, hopefully Xbox and like the rest of the gaming community could really, monitor the market and see exactly which games are going to sell at $80. Because I think everyone or most people will agree that Mario Kart World will sell well, whether it was at 70 or 80. It will sell regardless, because what the fuck else are you going to play on the Switch 2 launch day? But I think for everything else, how is this game going to sell at $80? Is the fan base willing to sell it at $80? We'll wait and see. I wouldn't be surprised if the next Call of Duty is going to be at 80, the Gears of War game, E-Day, everything like that. But, we'll just have to wait and see if this stuff actually sticks. But I think more than ever, us as the consumers and us as, I guess, like the gamers, if you will, to really speak and vote with your wallet. It's more important than ever to really, put your foot down, whether you really want to buy a product at its full price, or if you're willing to wait a little bit, or even with Microsoft, just buy Game Pass, subscribe for the month, have your fun with it, and then just not subscribe again.
That's literally what I'm like planning on doing. Like, PC parts are so expensive now, and I know I can't run like new Doom or like Oblivion or whatever. So I just got PC Game Pass. I got GeForce Now, and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna rock with this until like the situation calms down, because it's like the best economic move you could do, right? So luckily we do have those options, but it's still, I ain't looking good, right, in terms of like everything else. So that's just the world we live in right now. More bad news. GTA 6 is now set to release on May 26, 2026. So a full year delay and then some. I apparently Jason Schreier did some talks with Rockstar, and he said it wasn't even close to coming out for fall of this year. I don't know why they said that. So So, very unfortunate that we're going to have to wait another full year for GTA 6 to come out. But, this is shaping up to be probably one of Rockstar's biggest games ever. I wouldn't be shocked.
One of the biggest games ever, period.
One of the biggest games ever, too. Like, people are foaming at the mouth for this thing, but it's nice to have like a fully confirmed release date, since the fall 2025 release date was already so ambiguous anyway. Like, we didn't fucking know what that meant. Now we have like a pretty concrete date when it actually is coming out, so other gaming companies could like plan for it and like, okay, do not fucking release at that month at all. I could definitely see this game selling for like fucking $100 if they want to be max greedy about it. People will buy it, and it just depends on what Rockstar is putting down, if this game is really going to be as good as everyone hopes it is. But I'm glad it's getting delayed just to iron out all the bugs, make sure the game is fully polished, especially with big open world games like this. Like, a lot of things could go wrong, so I'm happy that they're taking their time. I know people are very ravenous for this game to come out at this point, but there's plenty of other good games you could play while you wait for this game. It's coming out next year, whether you like it or not. So there you go. It's fine. It'll come out. It'll be fine.
Yeah. To anyone that still doesn't own a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, you definitely have plenty of time to save up money and hopefully buy it now before the prices get really, really jacked up. I mean, Microsoft already did it for here in the United States, and possibly PlayStation might do the same to follow suit. But yeah, GTA 6 getting delayed. I think everyone had wishful thinking that it was actually going to come out during the fall. I was like, okay, we'll see if they actually land that date. And Rockstar just came out and was like, all right, we're just going to release it May 26, 2026. Because like you said, the fall was definitely a very ambiguous date. Like, no one really knew what to do with that, because it's like everyone doesn't want to get caught in fucking GTA's crossfire, right? Like, no one wants to release their game not even within like the same month as that game comes out, because you're going to get overshadowed by GTA 6. So now that they have a concrete date, for one, thank you, Rockstar, for being considerate of the others within the games industry to now actually strategize their release schedule and strategize their plans of like, when should we actually drop this game or not? Because now we got late May of next year, so pretty much everything between now and I would say like April or whatever is like free game. I think May you should like not touch, because if you come out like early May, no one's gonna care, because GTA 6 is gonna come out later that month, and even I think the next month after that, GTA might still be within the headlines of everything going on. So, shout out to them for actually being considerate and giving us a solid date. Will they actually fucking make it? I have no idea. And what will they charge this game for? I wouldn't be surprised if the base game is $100. Wishful thinking, they charge $100 and you get like 3 days early access or some bullshit like that, right? Let me actually go and check what May 2026 actually is. May 26, 2026. That is a Wednesday. So if they wanted to do 3 days early access or whatever, they can make it Monday or Sunday release and then just drop it like that. But we'll just have to wait and see. Because Rockstar, they know that this game's gonna be the biggest thing on like the fucking planet across all entertainment, not just gaming, but just across everything. Everyone's gonna have their eyes on this game, and no matter what they do, people are going to criticize it and sort of critique it. So I hope that they are able to stick the landing and actually give us a fantastic game that isn't littered with bugs, glitches, or what have you, and we're not having multi patches to sort of fix everything and iron everything out. They are taking a whole extra year and then some, to actually like fix this game. So yeah, so hopefully it comes out good, because people will be very, very angry if it's not. Yes, that will be a disaster if that happens.
Yeah.
The Fantastic Four, first steps, first official trailer. I saw this last night when I went to go see Thunderbolts. I honestly kind of forgot that this trailer dropped, because I think it dropped while I was at work, and then I was like, oh yeah, this trailer is here. Should probably put that in the podcast notes. Anyways, I mean, this film looks very, very good. I think the first teaser trailer really did give us a great idea of what this film's going to be about, and I think this trailer gives us an even better idea. We get to see sort of what the Fantastic Four is like within this Earth, and how everyone sort of looks up to them, and they're sort of like the heroes that came from space, changed forever after that fateful day. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this movie pans out, after seeing Thunderbolts last night and now leading into this movie. And then I think after that is like the fucking Avengers movies, which is crazy to even think about still. I want to see where they're taking this direction with the MCU and how this cast of characters really is Marvel's first family, and if they stick the landing, which I have immense faith within this cast to perform it and, land it, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I still love the visual style of this movie, like the futuristic sci-fi, I guess retro sci-fi look is going for. I think all the costumes look great. Like the CG looks pretty good as well. Like Silver Surfer and then Galactus. Like I think all that stuff looks good as well. So it seems to really be going into that whole thing, and I wonder like how it's gonna like fit into the overall MCU stuff. But I'm just excited to see like just a good Fantastic Four movie, because the last one we got was like Fan Four Stick, and that one was I mean, it gave us that one really good meme, and that was about it. Like, say that again, and that was it. So but yeah, it looks good. I mean, like, I think the cast looks great. I think the CG looks good. We finally saw the stretchy powers, and it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
So seeing all of them use their powers, and I don't know how the fuck they're gonna stop Galactus. Probably not. So I'm really excited to see how that goes. And that little kid is definitely gonna get stomped by Galactus, so let's see how that goes. But yeah, it looks good. I know some people are complaining about the Silver Surfer thing and stuff, but I'm pretty sure like Silver Surfer was also like female in one of the things too, or like male and female. I don't. I'm not that familiar with Silver Surfer, to be honest, so it doesn't really matter to me. But I thought the CG looked pretty good on all of them. Silver Surfer looks a little weird, but like it's like a metallic lady, so I don't really know how else you're supposed to make it look. So yeah, looks good. All right, so last bit of MCU news before we get into Last of Us. Jeremy Renner, he was offered to actually go for Hawkeye season 2, but it looks like that's not going to be happening as of yet, because they were offering him half of his fucking salary, which isn't great. So apparently it was not like Marvel or Disney. It was like his accountant that like brought him the offer. So I don't know what he meant by that, but I guess like
I guess like Marvel Disney accountants. But go on.
Okay, yeah. So, still like being cheap about it. He still loves like the Hawkeye. I mean, it's the only thing he's got. I don't know what else he does at this point. So besides Hawkeye. So yeah, he still loves Hawkeye. And he also like, he didn't want more money. He was just looking for the same amount, which I think is fair. Like, I think if you did something and you like the character, you do expect to get paid the same amount. You don't want like a fucking pay downgrade for like no reason. I know these people make $1 bajillion anyway, but like, I think out of principle, it just seems like they're like gypping him, right? And he also said it would be like twice the amount of work too. It's going to be like 8 months worth to like film it, I guess. So, like I think a Hawkeye season 2 would have been pretty cool to see. Especially now that we have like Daredevil stuff. Like, I don't know if it will take place in New York or whatever, but it would have been nice to like see it, post like Daredevil stuff, or post Spider-Man Brand New Day or whatever. Like, I think that would have been really neat to see, especially because Kingpin first showed up in Hawkeye, like returning to the MCU, or I guess being in the MCU for the first time. So it would have been nice to see that come full circle or whatever, and just seeing like maybe Kingpin fight like an Avenger again or whatever. That would have been nice. So but it looks like that won't be happening, at least of right now. Maybe they'll negotiate better rates or whatever, but it would have been nice to see. I thought the Hawkeye show was like okay. I'm not like its biggest like defender or whatever, but I thought it was pretty good. And having a season 2 wouldn't have hurt. So it kind of sucks that they gypped him so hard, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think out of all the MCU shows that want to get a season 2, I think that this is the one that Marvel's really looking at, which is why I guess Jeremy Renner's sort of making it public that they offered him half the salary that he got for the first season onto the next season, and he's claiming that it would take twice the amount of work, 8 months, which is crazy, and the fact that they would offer him half. The only thing that I could really think about as to why Marvel or Disney or whoever would even think about offering him that, especially since he's been with Marvel and sort of the MCU for so long. Like, why would you insult the man and offer him half, especially for a sequel, like a direct sequel to the first show, is the fact that they are downscaling a lot of their television stuff. Obviously, I think that Daredevil is sort of principle for that, where they're sort of downscaling what they're doing for these shows and actually making them actual television series and not filming them like 8-hour movies, kind of thing. But even then, I think even Daredevil probably spends a lot of money. Like, those fucking city permits cannot be fucking cheap. No. Come on. So I don't know why they would even offer him half. He said that, he's still willing to do it. So I hope that there's something that could happen with a Hawkeye season 2, because I think that was the one show that really could have benefited from it, where we could really see Kate Bishop become Hawkeye, because obviously, she's still sort of in training under Hawkeye's wing kind of thing. So I wanted to see her really become that character fully. But it looks like that is in the waters right now, a little bit in trouble. I hope that they are able to sort that whole thing out, because, I think offering someone half of what they were paid for the first season, especially for how long they've been with the company within this universe, that is kind of crazy. So, no matter how you spin it, I think it is kind of hard to side with Marvel or Disney, even if they are downscaling their sort of television library and sort of how they're budgeting everything. It is kind of insane to offer them that. And if you are going to offer them half, you should just give them less work to do, right? Like just have them be within like a few episodes or whatever, to sort of, really make it a Kate Bishop Hawkeye season, if you will.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with that. Like, again, like you said, especially for how long he's been in the MCU, it does seem like kind of like a dick move to just be like, okay, you get like half of like your salary for like your own show. Like that seems a little fucked up. So.
All right, so let's get into the last bit of the show. We got HBO's The Last of Us Season 2. It is now airing on HBO Max every single Sunday at 9 p.m. So they're adapting The Last of Us Part 2. We will be spoiling both the show and the game. So if you're show exclusive sort of watcher, I recommend not listening to what we're about to say, because we're going to spoil certain parts that may happen later in the game. Not as like, sure what, because obviously this discussion can go anywhere. So if you don't want to be spoiled for the game as well, do not listen to what we're about to say, but we will talk about the show freely as the first 3 episodes are out. So first up, I just want to preface and sort of give our thoughts on the first season of The Last of Us, just to give viewers and audiences a refresher on terms of what our opinions are. So, I think The Last of Us Season 1 is a fantastic piece of TV and also just a great video game adaptation. I think it is honestly better than the game in terms of its story, because it could only focus on the story and the parts that they fleshed out. For example, episode 3, Bill's episode, and also episode 1 by fleshing out Sarah before she tragically dies. All of that stuff, everything that they expanded upon and gave extra layers and extra depths to these characters was great. Fantastic. I think it is like a perfect 10 out of 10 season, to be honest. So yeah, Damian, what did you think about season 1 before we dive into the nitty gritty?
I mean, you basically like said exactly what I was going to say. Like, I think without all the gameplay stuff, like being in the way, I think like the show ended up being a bit better than the game. Obviously I think both are fantastic stuff. Like, the game is like really damn good when I played part 1 for the first time. And the first season of The Last of Us was also just fantastic. I think they adapted it perfectly while fleshing out bits that felt like it needed fleshing out and didn't felt too intrusive to the overall story. Like, it just made sense, right? While, like I said, the gameplay bits of The Last of Us, which, to some people could be like the weakest points of the game, it just flows really smoothly from scene to scene, right? Obviously not saying Last of Us 1, like the video game is bad or whatever, obviously not. And I think the game is fun to play or whatever. But, the narrative is sort of like the main thing people think about when they think about The Last of Us. And I think the show did it really well. Just great casting on everyone, great, effects or whatever. Obviously some little changes they've done and some bigger changes. But for the most part, it was very true to the source material while still kind of doing its own thing. And I think it was great. It's definitely one of my favorite, video game adaptations from a pure sticking true to the source material while still trying to be its own thing. So yeah, I thought the first season of Last of Us was very good, but I also thought the source material was very, really good, right? So it was kind of hard to mess up.
So going into season 2, obviously, I think Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin already know about the backlash and everything that happened with that game's release. Yeah. So they were like, all right, what can we do to sort of alleviate the backlash as hard to these new viewers, and also just change up the story, because obviously a lot of people liked what they changed within the first season. What can we change to make it better? I think the first episode was really, really solid. I think that there's really nothing wrong with the first episode. The second episode, I was honestly surprised that Joel died. I was like, oh shit, we're going into that right now. We're going into Joel going with Abby and then being dragged back to that cabin and then just fucking dying. We're just going into that right now. Okay, cool. And then episode 3, really lost me with like a lot of the changes that they're doing, because it feels like they're just changing things for the sake of changing them right now. You know, obviously, like the whole season's not out yet, so maybe my opinion could change by next episode of the podcast. But right now, it feels like this season, the second season, is just not as strong. Obviously, I know how part 2 ends and sort of where that journey takes us over like whatever, like 20 something hours within that game. But for this season right now, it just feels like we're doing a little too much.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're course correcting a lot from like the game, because a lot of the changes they're doing are like things to make you feel more empathetic for like certain characters or whatever, because of the huge backlash of Last of Us Part 2, the game. So like obviously like giving Abby like more backstory to start with, and like a bunch of other changes. Like it just seems like they might be overly course correcting kind of like the message of Last of Us Part 2, even if that was divisive. Like I feel like it was there for a reason. I'll get more to it as we get like, you know, as we get closer to it, but like I do feel like we're starting to lose itself a bit. Like I think all this new stuff they added in the first season of the Last of Us show felt like it complemented the source material, but this one feels like it's trying to fix it this time. And I mean, I don't even know how you even fix the Last of Us Part 2 story. Like it's just kind of like a messy thing to begin with. And I think I do like episode 1 was pretty much like, it felt almost shot for shot from the game's opening. Like I think they added some things like the therapist or whatever, but like it felt pretty on par with like the second with the second one's opening. And then the whole episode 2 onwards when it really starts to start doing some different stuff. But I think overall it's gonna be messy, I think, like the game is, but in like a different way, where maybe it feels like it might like not trust its viewers to understand what it's really trying to get at, or where the game kind of did, but also like people got mad at it anyway. So it's like it's hard. I don't really envy the people that had to make this. That's all I'm gonna say, because it's a really sticky situation to be in when trying to adapt Last of Us Part 2 specifically, you know? So yeah,
it's definitely a daunting task. You know, I'm not gonna sort of 100% blame, you know, Druckmann or Craig Mazin, but you know, I guess we'll just dive into Abby, you know, because Abby is obviously like such a diversive force within part 2. So they were like, all right, like how are we going to introduce her? And obviously they wanted to get actors who can act and really perform their role nicely. Caitlin Dever as Abby, I really like her, honestly. I really like the way they're portraying as her. I think making her a dual image of Ellie could be very interesting the further we move along. And, you know, her physical appearance not being, you know, as sort of tall or as buff as Joel, you know, I think that that's fine. I think some people have an issue with that, which is very ironic considering when part 2 came out, people were like, who the fuck is Abby? You know, like, I don't know what these sort of people really want from this game, because there's always something that they complain about or something they wish they did differently. And then when they do the thing that they wish they did differently, they're like, wait a second, but I actually did like that. It's like, all right, guys, like, just shut the fuck up. So them introducing Abby within episode 1 and then just making it very clear that she's going after Joel. So then when that scene happens where, you know, Abby is saved by Joel and then, you know, sort of that whole thing happens, it makes more sense. But my whole issue was that, like, she did not need that whole fucking speech, like, before she killed him, right? I feel like that was too much course correcting, where they felt like the viewers need to know why she's killing Joel. But it's like, it was very clear from episode 1 that we're going to go after Joel or fucking Josh or whatever the goddamn name they had for him. You know, he's like 6 foot, whatever, and he's handsome, by the way, etc., etc. And then, you know, they find him and they do that. They didn't have to have this whole monologue or whole speech where she explains why she's going after him and everything like, because I feel like TV viewers are just smarter than gamers, because fucking gamers are just stupid. So when it happened within part 2, they were like, why the fuck did Joel die? It's like, Joel's a bad person, guys. I felt like that was like the very clear message within The Last of Us, that Joel is not the good guy and he did a very bad thing. So obviously some people are going to go after him for doing the bad thing, because there's no justice system. The only justice you can get is when you do it yourself. And that's what Abby felt like she needed to do. So
Yeah, so with all the stuff for Abby, in terms of like the actress, I think she's doing a great job. Like I think she's playing Abby really well. Obviously the physical appearance stuff, like, she's like way more like slender than she was in the game or whatever. It does
And way shorter.
And way shorter. It does throw me off a little bit because, her physical appearance in 2 is like actually like plot like related because like she spends like all these years like training up to like get after this fucker. And like I never really brought it up in the game until I played it because people always bring it, oh, she's so buff in the fucking thing. But even in the game, it's like, oh yeah, she's fucking buff as shit. I'm like, oh shit, they like acknowledge it in the game. So and it makes sense for a character because like the only thing she's fucking focused on is killing Joel, right? So she like spends her whole life in like a training arc or whatever. But it's fine. Like I think she plays Abby well, like just through the acting or whatever. So if she didn't want to bulk up for this, or if they just didn't want to get a more bulky person in general, I think that's fine. It's whatever. Same thing with Ellie. Like she still like looks small. Like that's just how Belly Ramsey is gonna look. Like, but
yes, just everyone complaining, but please just shut the fuck up. Like she turned off her Instagram or something like that. Yeah. Like she's now all off of social media. Whenever a fucking actor does that, it's just fucking shameful. You guys are disgusting for even like I get it why you guys feel that way, but at the same time it's like we are not done with this season. She's doing a great job acting wise, so I don't see why her physical appearance or how she looks is so important to this adaptation of the game that you guys love so much.
Yeah, and I'll talk more about like her, like like how different Ellie is later or whatever. But with Abby stuff, like I think she's still acting like Abby or whatever. But yes, like you said, like I felt like the whole point of Last of Us Part 2 is that, like, even though you do play as Abby a little bit, I believe in the beginning. Oh no, that's like later, right? You don't even play as Abby until like way later. Not even like the beginning.
You do play as her. Yeah, within
but you don't
the
know
snow
shit.
Section. Yes.
You don't know shit.
You don't know what's going on. Yeah.
And the whole point of it is to like feel that blind rage that Ellie feels when Abby just fucking murders Joel, right? Like you don't know why she did it. You don't know like anything besides that she wanted this dude dead. I mean, you probably could glean it just from like, well, he killed a lot of fireflies. Like he probably did something to upset someone. Like you can use your brain for that. But for this one, they do explain everything right off the bat. And I feel like it kind of misses the point of being like you're supposed to like not like Abby like during that point, right? Like you're supposed to feel what Ellie is feeling that whole time, right? And say if that's good or whatever, but that's like what the game was trying to go for. And I think it works pretty well because when you're playing as Ellie, the only thing you're thinking of is killing Abby the whole time. Like that's the only thing you care about. Even as a player, it's like I want to kill this lady, right? Like she murdered my fucking dad, right? And I feel like this kind of goes against that, where it's like, okay, I'm just gonna monologue and like explain everything to Abby, right? So you already know Abby's motivation, so it's like kind of going with the viewers to be like, okay, don't hate Abby, please. Like, and I get it. Again, it's like a hard thing to like do because like the gamers fucking hated Abby and they never liked her ever, right? So with the TV audience, I think they want them to really feel sympathetic for her, and they felt like it went down the same road if it just didn't explain anything. But now it kind of takes away what they were aiming for with Ellie's blind rage throughout her whole first path of the game and stuff, and it kind of like ruins all of that. So it's hard to say. I still think the death of Joel was done well, like even minus the whole monologue, whatever. I think the addition of I think having Dina there, because I think wasn't Tommy with them before?
Yes. Yeah, that's another huge change up.
So having Dina there, I think that was pretty neat. Them bonding more together and stuff. Ellie not getting knocked out too. I think that was good. Like just seeing her crawl up to Joel and like just be like sad.
Yeah, no, they just wanted us to feel extra sad.
Yeah. So I like that part too. Like I think it just adds more salt to the wound rather than her getting knocked out or whatever. So I thought all that stuff was done well. But like, yeah, I do agree where I feel like it's kind of missing the point of what Druckmann probably wrote, like why he wrote it that way, right? Even if people don't agree with it, I'm not saying he's like this like mega mind fucking writer or whatever. I'm just saying like I get what he's trying to go for, right? So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I just I like that we see Abby within episode 1, and I like that we are introduced to how Abby discovers Joel's name when Dina shouts it, because I think that makes a lot more sense. Yes, that makes a lot more sense than when they all get in that cabinet. It's like, hi, I'm Tommy, this is Joel, or whatever that sort of interaction was, right? Like they just reveal themselves and then it just gets fucking turned on them instantly, and it's like, why the fuck would they say their names? But I think here they really did course correct it in a really, really good way with that one aspect. I just do not like that Abby gave a huge fucking dialogue speech where it's like, yeah, this is why I'm killing you, Joel. It's like, all right, I feel like I feel like you should just show that later and not just tell us, because that's a very clear sort of situation where you're telling and not showing.
Yeah, I agree. And it also like takes away all the mystery from Abby, like off the bat. Like you already know what her motivation was. So like I feel like when we switch to her like in the show, it's not gonna be like this big revelation or anything. You already know what she's all about, right? It's kind of just going through her journey now. And I do wonder if they might splice in more Abby stuff in between the Ellie stuff now, or they're gonna keep it like fully Ellie and then like fully Abby in like in season 3 or whatever. Like I don't really know what they're going for, but I guess we'll see, because like the way they're doing it now definitely seems like they want it to be like a plot, B plot sort of thing, right? So, but I don't know, because then episode 3 goes back to just being Ellie and stuff. So I don't know. I guess we'll see.
But yeah, I mean, I guess to some other things that we actually did like. Personally, I like Gail. I like Gail as the sort of therapist for Joel. I think Catherine O'Hara she's just having so much fun with this role, and she's very much like upfront with Joel. It's like, Joel, you're fucking lying to me. Like, what are you telling me that is like related to Ellie as to why she's not talking to you? And he's like, I saved her. I was like, yeah, like that's how he views it. And obviously, if we played, or if you did play the games, you would know that like obviously Ellie found out at a certain point that like he destroyed the Fireflies and everything like that, sort of like the truth to like what his sort of promise that he swore was, right? You know? So I cannot wait to see when all that stuff comes together, because obviously when Gail interacts with Ellie, when Ellie's trying to get out of the hospital, which is like a whole other thing, you know, like she's obviously lying to her where it's like, yep, I'm good. I'm not gonna, you know, go and murder all these fucking people. You know, I'm all mentally good. You can let me out. It's like, all right, yeah, like she's obviously just lying. And I think sort of Gail as a character is very fun to see her interact with all of these sort of characters within this world, including Tommy.
Yeah, because you know, in the original Last of Us 2, you really only had like Dina and I'm forgetting his other name, the other guy that's
Jesse?
with Elliot. Yeah, Jesse and Tommy. Like really, like that's all you really interacted with in the town, and then you kind of like move on, and it's just like it's mostly just Dina and stuff. And then, you know, obviously Abby's crew is what you deal with there. So them adding like more side characters to the town and stuff, and I guess fleshing out like the town to make it feel more realistic is kind of cool, I guess. Mostly because you know, they added that whole additional like fucking Game of Thrones siege at the at episode 2, and that was fun. I mean, that was something that did not happen in the game, and I feel like making Jackson feel more vulnerable, I think, adds a lot. Because I do feel like that town felt very like indestructible when you were playing Last of Us 1 and 2. Like oh, you could just always go there and it's like, you know, a home base or whatever. So I'm glad to show that, yeah, no matter how big your settlement is, like it's in danger of getting overrun by infected or raiders or whatever, right? So I think that was a really cool like fight scene and added some nice action to it. I know they probably just added it just to have some action in there or whatever, but it was great. It was really cool, and seeing like another bloater and stuff, that was always fun. But yeah, in terms of Gail, I thought she was a good character as well. You know, she just wants her weed. Like I you know, go.
Oh my god, that was so funny when like he handed her the weed and she was like, "All right, payment accepted." I was like, "That's how he's paying her." I was like, "All right, cool." But yeah, Jackson just like as like a town and sort of more like as a prominent role within the show. I think that sequence within episode 2 was great, not just because it was good action and sort of it also added a additional threat to what was going on with Joel, Ellie, Dina, and Jesse, right? With that sort of whole Abby situation, and made that crew more urgent to go back to Jackson because they knew what was happening there. They could see the fire, they could see the smoke, they could see everything. So they're like, we have to get back, but they can't because of the storm, because Mother Nature's like, you guys ain't fucking moving. So, you know, I just like that aspect of it to sort of have this extra urgency to return home, right? Because before it was just like, we just got to get back home, right? Kind of thing. Yeah. But now there's like that danger there that really makes it feel like we have to get back home and everything like that, which is why when Joel's, you know, like sort of like freaking out over the walkie before, you know, Abby's people just turn on him and everything like that, you know. But yeah, I guess with Tommy as a character, you know, his dynamic has really changed within this season because now he actually has a kid, and he didn't go after Abby immediately after Joel died. We had that very somber scene within the beginning of episode 3, which was fucking great, you know, maybe even a tearjerker for some, but yeah, him just being like, give Sarah my love. I was like, fuck, man, why are you doing this shit to me, man? And then that episode kind of just goes all downhill from there, which I'll maybe probably talk about more later. But yeah, I think Tommy having a more leadership role makes sense, and why he doesn't go after Abby makes sense too, because it's like he has more to lose. And it feels like this version of Tommy isn't as like hot-headed and as vengeful as the game version Tommy was, which I think game Tommy made sense because it showed Ellie sort of like a trail that she could follow, right?
Yeah.
Like all of these fucking tortured people and shit that like Tommy has just been running through. Like he's a fucking madman. He's like, I'm killing Abby as well. Like I want this bitch dead. But here it's like, you know, when Ellie's like disrespectfully talking to him and he's like, don't act like he's not my brother. I'm like, shit, man. Like she is like being like really like crazy there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I understand why they're making Jackson much more of like a structural town and why they're going through all of these things to sort of make it so when Ellie does have to go after Abby, it has to be a lot more secretive. But yeah, you know, I'd like the change of having Dina there as opposed to Joel because of that whole name interaction, and also just like have it be more impactful for Dina to go after Abby as well. Sort of why she was so prepared when Ellie was sort of making this plan when she really didn't have a plan. You know, it was all Dina coming up with it. But yeah, you know, I think the changes for Tommy are definitely gonna see more drastic effects the later we go on, because obviously within the game he's the reason why Ellie goes after Abby one last time, because he has survivor's guilt and he pretty much lost everything doing this, and he's like, you need to go on because I'm fucking old and I can't do this shit no more. So she does it as well, and she loses everything too. She loses Dina, she loses the kids. So you know, I just wonder how that's going to affect season 3, if you will.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if he does stay in the town, because they've been really developing this town the last like 2 episodes or 3 episodes or whatever. I wonder if we're gonna keep cutting back to Jackson to see how it develops and not just like abandon it like, you know, like the games do. And Tommy like maybe takes on another role there, and like maybe raiders come in, or maybe some other bullshit happens there that makes him like lose everything or whatever. Like I feel like they've been setting up the town a little too much to just kind of like leave it like the game does, and like, you know, we just follow Ellie or whatever. Because, you know, they introduced like the, you know, obviously that whole attack they had. They introduced like the council and like the fucking all this bullshit. Like there's a lot more like politics and stuff happening in this town than we ever had in the original game. It was mostly just like the beginning and like that's it, and then like, you know, Ellie fucks off or whatever. So I wonder if Tommy is gonna have his own hardships during like any town type stuff might be happening as a B plot or whatever. Or we're just gonna like, if he is gonna end up following Ellie like right now, maybe it's like the reverse, like maybe like Tommy is following Ellie this time. I don't really know.
Yeah,
but I guess we'll see in the next episode, because I'm not really too sure what they're gonna do with his character. But I am glad he is taking more of a like you said, a leadership role, and like, you know, because he needs, the town needs him. Like he can't afford to like leave, especially after the infected attack, and especially because he's basically like the second like owner of this town besides his wife, right? So you know, he kind of has to be there for the community. So it feels less justified for him to just go out, right? But I guess we'll see once the season develops, right?
Yeah. I guess Seth. So Seth, they're doing something very interesting with this character. Obviously, he's in the game and also the show within episode 1 where he calls Dina and Ellie a homophobic slur. So, you know, that obviously doesn't go well. But they're doing this thing with his character where they're trying to give him like a redemption arc, kind of. And I don't know. I feel like that this shit's just not going to work. Yeah. I don't see how you redeem his character when everyone off the bat just fucking hated him, right? Like you call sort of our main characters a slur like that, and I guess they're trying to show that like people can change and all this other stuff. But even if they do change, I mean, I personally just don't give a fuck. Like I just don't care. It really doesn't make a difference whether or not Seth becomes a good person. Obviously good for them, but I don't care for like the overall show, because they're making him a lot more involved with him out speaking at the sort of council thing, and then him also being the one to give Ellie the horse and sort of the supplies. He's like, trade the gun with me. My gun's newer, trade. And I don't know, it just feels really, really forced. And I saw this tweet that was like, Seth is like the devil on the devil on Ellie's shoulder, who's kind of like pushing her to do the things that he can't do, because obviously he's fucking old and not as sort of combat sort of experienced as she is. So it's like, I guess that's a good analogy, but also like, I don't think the writers would think that, honestly. Not to like sort of downplay like their intelligence, but I don't think that would be something that they would insert with the character, especially like Seth, because like I said, no one likes him. And I feel like if they do give him like this redemption arc, it's just not going to land, no matter how they spin it.
Yeah, I just feel like I don't know why this character they're doing it with. I guess because Tommy isn't going after Abby himself. Like they have to have someone else that kind of pushes Ellie to do stuff, I guess, even though she wants to as well. But like, you know, the support of Seth, I guess, is like encouraging her to go, I guess. But he is like kind of like a whatever character. Like he, like in the game, he was just made to like not be liked, and that's it. He says the one thing, like Joel fucking punches him, and then like that's it, right? And then it's just like he's just like a plot device, really. Like I don't know why they're focusing so much on him. Most because there's like not a lot to him to begin with. Like you know, it's not like what's their face in the first season of Last of Us, who did like a whole episode with them. You know,
Bill?
Like, Bill, right? Like you know, people like that character already, and like they just had more going on that they could tell this whole great story or whatever. With this guy, I'm just like, what are you gonna do with him, right? like I don't know. I guess I'll keep an open mind, I guess, but like it's also just like it just seems like, oh, why?
I guess we could just talk about the overall casting in general. You know, like I said earlier, Bella Ramsey, she's doing a great job. Anyone who says otherwise, fuck off. Caitlin Dever, we already touched upon her. She's doing great as Abby, even though the physical appearance isn't there. I'm still keeping an open mind and hoping that, you know, that stuff isn't as prominent, and maybe there's other stuff within Abby's story that they could pull from and change and make it better. Young Mazzino as Jesse, he's like the highlight for me. I fucking loved him within Beef. He's like such a fantastic actor. So to see him take on Jesse and really bring him to life in a different way, but also the same within the game, is so much fun. And also Isabella Merced, I think that's her name, as Dina. She's like probably the standout performance in every single episode she's in, because she really does embody Dina, and I fucking love it.
Yeah, she does a really good job. All the characters do a really good job. And, you know, with Bella Ramsey, I think she's doing a great job as well. Even though I do think it's a different take from Ellie from Last of Us Part 2. Not even just talking about like physical appearance or whatever. Just in terms of like attitude, she definitely seems like not as fucking miserable as she did in Last of Us Part 2. You know, in that game, Ellie was fucking broken. Like, and I'm not saying she's not in this. Like, maybe she is hiding it under her jokes and stuff, but in Last of Us Part 2, Ellie was just like a fucking miserable wreck the whole game, right? Like she was like not really joking that much. She was very serious. In this one, she, you know, Ellie definitely has a lot more light left in her. Like she's definitely like joking around a bit more. She's obviously very upset about what happened to Joel and stuff, but she doesn't seem to have like that blind rage that Ellie did in had in Part 2 or whatever. And I think that's just an interesting like sort of difference to adding to this adaptation in general. So and you know, them choosing to wait 3 months to go after them is also like a big thing as well, because it was like very immediate in the original game. Like as soon as Ellie was like ready to go, she was like gone, right? In this show, she was dead. They like waited like a really long time to like go out and do anything, which feels like a lot. Like 3 months feels like a lot to like wait to like go after these fucks, but you know, it is what it is.
Just quickly touching on, I guess, Ellie's characterization within the show. That's definitely something that I noticed as well, where she's like a lot more like teen angsty and maybe a little bit more hard to work with, if you will. That was something that kind of threw me off, because I was like, why is she like so cocky and so like, you know, not annoying, but just like, you know, just
she feels like Last of Us 1 Ellie as opposed to Last of Us 2 Ellie. Yeah. Just
like very difficult to work with kind of thing. So I was definitely keeping an eye on that. But obviously after Joel died, she was like, shit, you know, I gotta like kind of like lock in. So yeah, episode 3 is probably the worst episode this season, in my opinion, so far. You know, obviously we haven't seen the rest of the season, but I think just starting off with the 3-month time jump is fucking crazy, because it's like the sense of urgency is kind of lost there. And I think in the sort of post-episode interview, they were talking about how like they want this episode to be like a morning for Joel, which, you know, shout out to fucking Pedro Pascal. You know, he always does such a fantastic job playing this character. But, you know, having that time to mourn for him, I guess, is fine, but I think there's other ways to do it. Like, we know that there's going to be other flashback scenes, like the sort of spaceship birthday surprise that he did for Ellie, and a couple of other ones that are probably going to be within season 3. But I don't think we needed a whole episode to mourn for him and sort of see the cascading effects of Joel's death. Because I think that's just like the point of The Last of Us Part 2 is just seeing that happen as the game progresses. And we can see that as the show progresses. So I don't know why we needed to slow everything down, halt everything for 3 months, because now it makes going after Abby and her crew a lot less realistic in a sense of like her being on their trail and everything like that. And, you know, Dina explains where it's like, you know, she knows where they're headed. So why don't we just wait for them to get there first? I'm like, all right, I guess. But like, that's fucking 3 months, girl. Like, what are we doing here? You know?
Yeah. And like I said before, it kind of goes with a blind rage thing, like with Ellie. Like, again, in Last of Us Part 2, she was like so fucking angry the whole fucking game. She was so bloodthirsty that the only thing she could think about is killing Abby. Like, the whole game, that's all she cared about was killing Abby. Like, that's the only thing in her mind. So, like, her mind just breaking and just, like, immediately going after them and, like, all this urgency to, like, fucking kill her. Like, I feel like all that's really gone. And, you know, like, Ellie just feels like pretty different in this series compared to she does in the game, right? And it probably is just to like make Abby a bit more likable or to make things like maybe like chill things out a bit or whatever. Because, you know, the original story of Last of Us Part 2 is a very raw story. Like, it's a very, like, you know, like, just, like, all about vengeance and all this shit. And I know they bring it up in the council meeting where it's just like, oh, Ellie says, like, oh, it's not about vengeance, even though they're like, oh, she's bullshitting, it is about vengeance or whatever. You know, I feel like that's not something Ellie, game Ellie would have said at all. I think she would be like, yeah, this is about vengeance. I want to fucking kill this guy. But for some reason, Seth said that. So I don't know why he said that.
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously just lying to just try to get the teasing. Yeah,
she's obviously lying or whatever just to get like the support or whatever. But you know, she obviously does feel like she wants the vengeance. But I feel like she, like, it feels weird that she was like wrote that whole thing anyway just because Jesse told her. I feel like, nah, I'm just gonna fucking leave. But yeah, I just feel like that sense of urgency, like you said, is gone from this whole thing, and it just seems to be going at like a lot slower pace. And I wonder how that's really gonna like affect things going forward. Like, it doesn't feel like this giant, like, I gotta kill this fucking guy. Like, you know, like, it just kind of loses all that, right? Because that was the whole point of Last of Us Part 2 to begin with, really. So, yeah.
Yeah. I know episode 4 is going to have, like, the big action sequence, and then it'll be revealed that Dina knows that Ellie's immune or whatever.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you know, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. The last thing I quickly want to talk about is just Dina and Ellie's relationship kind of thing. You know, like, what's going on with them? Will they, won't they? You know, we had like a very cute and funny scene of like Dina was like, radar kiss. I was like, all right, here we go. Here we fucking go. But it seems like Dina's like character is very much like not as committed to Ellie compared to the game, which some people have a problem with. Personally, I just think that it's just maybe bad writing, or maybe me just excusing it of them just like being young and just fucking around, just like figuring out like what she wants within a relationship. Is she straight? Is she bi? Whatever, you know, sort of like finding that stuff out, because she just straight up said, Ellie, you're gay, you know, like radar kiss. I was like, what the fuck's going on here? Because I was just so like out of left field in terms of like the dialogue. But you know, I'm gonna give it more time. I'm not gonna sort of dismiss sort of like Dina's, I guess, like intentions with Ellie, because I know that they're probably well intended, because obviously she fucking visited her like every day at the hospital and like made her cookies before, you know, she broke down exactly what was happening with Abby's crew. So she obviously cares about her. So I just wonder how that's going to play out the further we get into the season.
Yeah, I guess because like the characters, like at least Dina and Ellie, feel a lot more like teenagers in this one than they did in Last of Us Part 2. I'm pretty sure they're the same age in both games, or in the game and the show. But like, you know, in the game, they felt a lot more like young adults rather than like teenagers. And this one, they're going through all the angsty stuff. So, you know, it is what it is. You got some drama or whatever. I'm sure they're just doing it to like, you know, have some spicy stuff or whatever. Just like, oh, would they, won't they, or whatever. You know, we I mean, I don't know if they'll change it in the show or whatever, but obviously to get together. But I guess we'll see as that moves along. But it does seem a bit jarring to have that right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's why I kind of just feel like a lot of the urgency and like blind rage that I keep bringing up, because I do feel that I'm such a big theme of Ellie's side of the story does feel kind of gone. So it makes it seem like the urgency, like you said, also isn't like really there. So, you know, it just really is going for a different tone and direction. And it seems like they just want more people on board with all sides of the story this time, rather than just like fully focusing on Ellie's like vengeance on killing Abby, right? Like it wants everyone to like sort of get a say, I guess, in the story. But I guess we'll see as it goes around. Again, Last of Us Part 2 as a story is like just like kind of like messy. So I'm sure like I already knew this season was gonna be like messy as well. So we're just gonna see how it goes. You can only do so much with the adaptation you're given. So we'll see once we get into further episodes.
All right. So is there anything else you'd like to add, good sir?
No, that's about it.
All right, so thank you guys for listening to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 162. We will see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
Later.